to an hour. He's got a lot of good stuff. So for our next presenter following him, you will want to make sure you have internet connection. So if you've not, look at your network settings, connect to Netgear 55, and that password again is ChummyHat352. That's lowercase c. Netgear 55, ChummyHat352.
All right. Thank you. You guys are making me hungry. I smell a lot of ham and turkey. I'll eat later. I'm here for you guys. I can eat whatever. I'm here for you guys. So we've talked about the physical game, and I want to go into some lane play and targeting now. We good?
I'm not sure.
Good? Okay. Oh, okay. Now you can hear me? Okay. You got me? Okay. So we've gone over the physical game. Now we'll go over lane play and targeting. And again, as we go through, if you have any questions. Yeah.
The top 10 tickets, want to go over and take your choice. Tom's ready for those now. If you have the top 10, just give me your number and you can take care of it. Sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. It's important stuff. Absolutely. So as we go through this, please again, stop me, ask any questions. And if you have any questions about the physical, we can go back to that too. But I want to go forward with lane play and targeting. And one of the questions that I'm sure all of you get asked, because I know I do, is how to get lined up quicker. How do I figure out where to be, what ball to use, making adjustments, when to make adjustments, what adjustment to make. Those are the very common questions. That's the essence of what's going on right now out there. So these bowlers are on a pattern out there. Even if it were a house pattern, it'd be the same thing where the lanes are going to change and they have to know what to do and when to do it. So we have to get lined up before we can worry about adjustments. I always tell bowlers, start where you're comfortable. Just because this is a short pattern out here, it does not guarantee that it's going to play in a certain part of the lane. Typically, shorter patterns play to the outside, that's what we think, and longer patterns play closer to the inside. Well, that's not always true. In fact, a lot of times it's the opposite because of something called topography. But if you start where you're comfortable, that's okay because I'm still going to have you, as the bowler, explore the lane. What's that? Am I in charge of the volume, or is that? Okay. All right. Oh, the food's moving around, I guess. That's what it is. Okay. All right. So I'll talk. Can you hear me now? Okay. So we're going to start where we're comfortable, and then we're still going to explore the lane. Typically, second arrow. Everybody in the world can play second arrow, and that's okay. That can work sometimes, but it isn't always the best place. Even on a house pattern, it doesn't mean that's always the best place. In fact, most of the time, it's really not the second arrow that's the sweet spot for that day. But if they start where they're comfortable for the first couple of shots, that's okay. Start with their medium or benchmark ball. Now, you'll have some bowlers who don't have a variety of bowling balls. But for those that do, they need to pick the one for them that's medium. We call that the benchmark ball. Whatever one is in the middle of their arsenal, start with that ball, because if you start with your strongest ball and it doesn't hook for 60 feet, the rest of your balls are now mentally useless. Or if you start with your weakest ball and it hooks off the lane, the rest of your balls are mentally useless. So we start with the medium ball so that no matter what it does, you have plus and minus that you can go to. So once you start where you're comfortable, start with the medium ball. Now you need to explore other parts of the lane and with different balls if they are available, if that's an option for that bowler. So many bowlers, and I know that all of you in this room at some point in a league setting or a tournament, we're guilty of this, I know I've been, where the third or fourth shot of practice you strike, and it looks really good. And then you go to the next lane, you do the same thing, and you strike, and you just keep doing that for the rest of practice. Well, two things are happening, and they're both bad. One is that you're not learning anything, and secondly, you're showing your opponents where to bowl. So you're giving them all they need to know by watching you. So you have to get in the mode of trusting, of exploring the lane, and that striking in practice is not important. What's important is finding information. So if they explore the lane in a broader comfort zone, and on house patterns, I would be happy with anywhere between the first and third arrows. That's only 1/4 of the lane, but that's still a very good size of area for most bowlers who have a very small comfort zone now, which is the second arrow. So if they can play anywhere between the first and third arrow, different shot each time, maybe a different ball, then they're truly exploring the lane. The general guideline I give bowlers is your first 2 shots of practice can be the same. Maybe second arrow, benchmark ball, but every shot after that should be different in some way. Whether you change balls and stand and look the same place, move with the same ball, or both. Every shot for the rest of practice should be something different because you're trying to find information. If you stay glued to one spot and keep striking, it looks good, but then the lane's changing. How many of you on a league night have struck a lot in practice and shot 150 the first game? How many of you have not struck at all in practice and shot 250 the first game? Well, you know why? Because you were exploring the lane out of survival mode. You didn't know you were doing it, but you were trying to strike, so you were moving around and trying different balls because you were panicking. Well, I don't want you to do it out of panic. I want you to do it out of a conscious strategy that you do every time. Now, let's say that you get 8 shots. That's not a lot. If you're going to throw 2 shots the same, and then you're going to explore the lane for 6 shots, that's not really a lot to maybe know all the information you need to know. However, you have eyes. And if you watch every ball going down the lane, you're going to get all the information you need. One of my biggest pet peeves as a coach is bowlers who are in the bowler's area and they are doing something that's distracting them and they're not watching anything that's going on in the lanes. I am not a yeller. I am not one of those kinds of coaches. I've yelled 3 times in my coaching career. Twice was in Ukraine when I coached the national team of Ukraine. And it was at my men's team because we had a practice session prior to going to Germany for a World Championships. And this was the goal. We're going to explore the lane, communicate, watch every ball going down the lane, and they were not doing it. And I didn't know I was going to yell. I thought I was calm. I started talking, and it came out at a very high volume. And I had a translator who was a non-bowler, a very nice lady translator, and she was there to translate everything I said. And I didn't ask her to do this, but she yelled in Russian. It was great. So they heard me yelling. They were like, what's he yelling about? And then she started yelling in Russian, and they're like, oh, okay, we get it. So that was perfect. So twice that's happened with them because they're on their phone or they're talking. You know, if he and I are teammates and the lane is this way, he can hear me right now. I don't have to look at him. If I look at him and talk to him, I'm missing information. So if your bowlers are watching every ball go down the lane, in addition to their own shots, they're going to know exactly where the sweet spot is for that day. So really encourage your bowlers to watch every ball reaction. They don't have to be an experienced bowler or coach to know what their eyes are seeing. They're going to see a part of the lane that doesn't look good at all. Ball doesn't hook or the ball hooks too much. Or they're going to see a part of the lane that's really, really good. So encourage your bowlers to watch every ball. This is that comfort zone. So this is taking it from about the 4 board to the 4th arrow. That would be a really good comfort zone for a bowler to be able to play within. But even if it's only between the 1st and 3rd arrow, that's pretty good. Again, for most house shots. Yes, sir?
Just want to break it again, sorry. 11 through 20 on the ball list. 11 through 20, you know, see Tom.
Oh. So this is the comfort zone that I want you to encourage your bowlers to get a little bit broader. Most bowlers, especially at the teenage high school level, are 2nd arrow. Make sure they can play out near the 1st arrow. On some lane surfaces, a house shot, that's a really good area. Maybe the 7-8 board, maybe sometimes left of the 2nd arrow. But by exploring the lane, they're going to know where the best part to play, even if it's their home center. You know this. You've bowled. How many times have you bowled league in a center and it seemed different from one week to the next? There's a lot of things that cause that. So you can't rely on that shot working week in and week out. So once they do all that, they have the information. Now they need to trust what they saw because the bowling ball can't lie to you. By the way, it's the only thing in the bowling center that can't lie to you. People can. But the ball can't do tricks. This doesn't have the ability to fool you. If you trust what it tells you, it's going to tell you everything you need to know. But the problem is, as bowlers, we watch this do something different and we think that it did tricks. Or that can't be. I have to try that again. Really? You're going to waste a shot because you think this did something magical? No, it's doing what it's going to do. So if we trust this in our eyes, we can develop that plan A through discussing it with you as the coach, with their teammates, and then go with that plan A. Now, this is very important because this is something that is a major, major issue in our sport. And I'll tell you that I deal with this literally on a daily basis, where a bowler will tell me the line they're playing. Let's say they're going to play straight up the second arrow. So 10 at the arrows, 10 at the break point. And then I watch where their slide foot is when they let go of the ball. And because of their laydown distance, I see where the ball crosses the foul line. And they mathematically have no chance of playing second arrow straight up. And so most bowlers can tell you where they're standing on the approach. Most bowlers can tell you where they're looking at the arrows, but then ask them where they're sliding. Ask them where the ball's crossing the foul line, what their laydown distance is. They have no idea. How many of you don't know that? How many of you don't? Yeah, exactly. So even as bowlers yourselves, practice this with your own game before you teach it to your players. Check to know what your drift is so you can assume where your slide foot's going to be. Know what your laydown distance is at release. Those are two personal numbers that are very, very, very valuable. Because if this position is off, they have no chance of playing the line they're telling you they're playing. And then the adjustments will make no sense whatsoever. But when I tell you this is a daily thing, I'm not exaggerating. That is a fact. And I mean, of all players, that one player that had the massive crossover step that I said is a PBA player, I did a session with him last month in Philadelphia, and he said, Ron, you got to help me. I cannot move left and hit my target line to save my life. I can't do it. I'm missing left all day long, and that's even with the swing being better. Well, when he let go of the ball, I said, where are you looking? What kind of break point are you trying to play? And based on where the ball crossed the foul line and where he was looking and break point, it was going to defy the laws of physics. There was no way it was going to work. I moved him 10 boards right. 10 boards right, and he couldn't miss. But the reason that he was that far left is because as bowlers, we line up to get visually comfortable. So if I say, okay, I want all of you to go out there and play 15 at the arrows to 8 down lane. You're going to line up in the approach to what looks good to you. And if it looks good, it's probably wrong. Because the approach that's in front of you is distorting your angle of the lane, and you're forgetting your drift. So by the time you get to the foul line, what looked good back in the stance is now incorrect at the foul line. So kind of in a joking way, what I tell bowlers is, if it looks like crap in your stance, it's probably right. Because I'm going to put you in positions that you're going to look at it and go, this isn't going to work. And I say, just try it. And then when you get to the foul line and you let go of the ball, all of a sudden the math makes sense. Where the ball's being released and where you're trying to play, it all adds up. But we have to understand that sometimes it won't look great in our stance to be correct at the release. What is the only point in bowling that matters? The release. That's where bowling occurs, not in the stance. So if it doesn't look great in the stance, who cares? Let's just use that as a means to an end, and the correct end, not the wrong end. Let's not line up visually and have the wrong ending. So this is very critical. So I'm going to show you an example here. I'm going to run this through a few times and tell you that this actually was just last week. And this bowler had bowled a Masters tournament about a month ago and had to play the 4th arrow. Most of the people that were doing well at that point in the tournament were playing around the 4th arrow out to about 8 down lane. So this is his version of playing 4th arrow to 8 down lane. I hope you can see the problem right away. I took this video and I said, buddy, we got a problem here. I said, first of all, you're trying to play 20 to 8. So let's look and see where that ball's being released. That's 20. So he's releasing it on 20, and so he's going to go to 20, and then it's going to all of a sudden hit something and go over to 8. Well, that's not going to happen. So he had no chance, and that's what happened. He literally he had no chance. He failed miserably in that tournament because in the stance, he thought it looked good. Well, he drifts to the right a little bit. He forgot that. And so by the time he finished, he was nowhere near where he started, but he was basing the look of that line on what it should be back here. So that's a good example of a line that had no chance of working because the bowler in this case was finishing too far to the right, therefore laying the ball down too far right. Most of the time, what you will see is that right-handed bowlers will be too far left of where they need to be. This is kind of a unique case. Most of the time it's the opposite, and then left-handers the same way. They'll be too far to the right of where they need to be. So make sure that you're looking at this moment, where they're sliding, where they're laying the ball down, and does it make sense to connect target to break point? And you'll see a lot of issues with that. When a bowler tells you what they're playing and you watch this, you're going to see a big disconnect. And so we have to educate the bowler on that. So body angles. Yep.
Anybody 1 through 30 and you know pick a ball up.
Do I get a chance to go pick a ball up? Do I get a prize? Do I get a prize? I want a prize. All right, so now we check body angle because in any sport that you've played, think about it. Body angle is critical. Are you facing the target that you're trying to hit or go to? And so in bowling, we do semi-poor job at it. These are examples of different body angles. This would be closed, where this is showing the shoulder angle with the big head. And when right-handers are pointed to the left, we call that closed. When right-handers are pointed to the right, we call that open or square. So those are 3 distinct body angles. All 3 of these are good based on how they're trying to throw that ball. If these angles were intermixed, that bowler would have a very, very hard time bowling. They could look good throwing the ball like they're a perfect machine. Wouldn't matter. If body angle is off, it's not going to overcome that. So if a bowler goes from playing up 4 to playing inside, that body angle must change. One of the things that I would recommend you do with your players is to introduce them to this, take them to the foul line. Take them to the foul line at the release point, have them visualize the line they're trying to throw, whether it's straight up 10 or a little bit of angle, and have them draw that line back and make their slide foot parallel to it at the foul line. And then just duplicate that position back in the stance. Because if we try to do it back in the stance, we're going to do it too much or too little. Because again, just like with checking the slide foot position, the approach is distorting your view of the lane. And so your angles are not going to be as accurate as if you see it from the point of release. So if we go to the foul line and have them match their slide foot up to this line and then just duplicate that back here, we're good to go. Keep in mind that we're talking 3.5 feet by 60 feet. So the angle doesn't have to be a lot. You know, let's say that this is playing straight up 10. They're not going to be like this to be at this angle here. It's going to be a very slight angle because of the length of the lane versus the width of the lane. But that angle means everything because when we shift the body angle, we also realign the swing to match that target line. What I don't want to see bowlers do is keep their feet the same and just adjust this. Although this may be good in the stance, I guarantee you by halfway through their approach, they're back to where they would be anyways. We've got to change the feet. Now, the most common follow-up question I get is, well, then do I walk in that direction? No, this is not 1972. So we are not going to walk in the direction of our feet. We're going to walk straight at a very slight angle. Like I said, if it's too much, then it's very awkward. It's a very, very slight angle, and it's easy to walk as straight as you normally do with a very slight angle of the feet. That realigns the entire body, the entire swing line, to then match whatever angle you're trying to play. It is so easy to do this and so misunderused. It is absolutely something we don't teach enough of. And it's so simple. We just change the angle of the feet and everything else is done. And then it makes the accuracy so much easier. So please check body angle as well. This is an example of good body angle. Let's say this bowler is going to shoot a 10-pin. So we have the green line, which is the arm swing. The red line is the ball, and the blue is the body angle. Those 3 lines are parallel. So if those 3 lines are parallel, perfection's not needed. You don't have to be a machine. But if these lines are not parallel, and that body angle is straight trying to go that way, perfection won't even matter. So you've got to make sure that the slight body angle is matching whatever line they're trying to play. And please do it with the lower body, with the feet, and not just the upper body, because that will go away halfway through the approach. So now the lane changes. right? The lane is changing in practice, but it's changing literally every time a ball goes down the lane. We're not going to see the changes that often, but it is changing every time. So another question I get every day, Coach, should I change balls or move? I don't know. But you're the gold coach. I don't know. How am I supposed to know the future? I don't have a crystal ball. I cannot see the future. What I can tell you is what I think might be the best plan A, but I can't guarantee it's going to work. And if I do, you should fire me and never have me coach you again. If I promise you that this adjustment's going to work, you should walk away from me because I'm lying to you. I can't promise you that. What I can promise you is that it's probably the best guess at the time, but more importantly, if it doesn't work, we'll have a plan B. Right now, plan B. So what I tell people is to go with, I'll come back to these, go with your preferred adjustment. Everybody in this room, if we took a poll, some of you are going to say, I would rather change balls first, and some of you would say, I'd rather move with the same ball first. Great, do that. One shot. Give it one shot. Not 5, like we all do. We try to force it to work for half a game, and now we're half a game behind the transition, and we never catch up. If plan B did not work, let's say you change balls and it didn't work, then you need to go with plan C, and so on until you find the right adjustment. But the bottom line is this. There is no magical cure that we know is going to work. So have them do what they prefer. One shot, and then change it to something else. One shot, and then change it to something else. Because if they keep trying to beat that into the ground, they're never going to catch up. And that's what, how many of you are guilty of that? Everybody raise your hand. Yep. We're all guilty of that. And so as bowlers yourselves, try to make that a quicker adjustment for yourself. Always go to the plan Bs and Cs faster. So now if we go back to this, this is showing a fresh oil pattern on the left. Every time you bowl, every time your players bowl, to some degree, carry down is going to happen. It's just going, it's different than it was 15, 20 years ago, but it's still there. And it is going to affect ball motion to some degree. So if that does push the ball a little bit longer, then the correct move would probably be to go to the right of it, again on a house pattern, and get around that carry down the lane so that the ball hooks like it did the first shot in practice. With the breakdown that we see much more prominently in our sport, now we need to find a way to get into more oil to get the length on the ball that we need to have. So these are common directional moves that you would use on a house pattern. For a right-handed bowler, you would want to move to the outside to battle carry down, and then start moving back left to battle breakdown. This everybody knows. I think this is the one that we miss sometimes. But when we start pinging 10 pins as right-handers that we weren't pinging in practice, that's the reason right there. I promise you. Absolutely promise you that's the reason. You may not see the change in the distance of the ball, but it's happening, and it's enough to take you out of the pocket, which we'll get to a little bit later. In the end, I'm laughing because of this. I'm sorry. I know very few of you. I know some of you a little bit, but I will tell you that I know you well enough to know that you're insane. And how I can say that is you're a bowler. And how many times have you left a 10 pin or a 7-10 or a 7 or anything, and on the next shot you didn't change anything? You're insane. That's the definition of insanity. You're doing the same thing over and over and you're expecting a different result. What's that? It might work. It might work. Tell me how that works out in the end for you, though. But that's what I mean. We all have some level of insanity because we try to do the same thing over and over thinking it's going to be better in the long run. This is going to come back full circle when we talk about the pocket here in a little bit. And I wanted to end on that presentation today because I think that's going to be probably the most eye-opening thing for you as it was for me writing this book. So we need to reduce the insanity by making changes after one shot, not waiting 3 or 4. Now with eye targeting, I will tell you, unfortunately, that as athletes, we are the worst sport in the world. Meaning, if we have a target to look at or a ball to make contact with, say like tennis, in either case, eye targeting is critical. Think of other sports you've done. Would you ever take your eye off the target or the ball? You know, would you go to kick a soccer ball and go, you know? No. We are horrible in bowling. I've gone out on the lane and watched thousands of bowlers without telling them what I'm looking for, so they don't know what to do. I'm not trying to skew the results. And I have seen well more than 50% of all bowlers have some type of eye movement during the approach. And most of the time, they don't know it. So guess what? I video. And then I show them what their eyes are doing, and they're like, I had no idea I'm doing that. Well, how can you be accurate if your eyes are moving from your target? So again, most bowlers know this. They think they know this, but the eye targeting might be questionable. It's a skill. Just like timing, just like swing, just like posture, release, anything you're going to work on fundamentally in a bowler's game, I will tell you without any question, unless you have a bowler who is a PBA player, PWBA player, and even then, it doesn't guarantee this, all of them need to have on the top of their to-do list better eye targeting. They all do. Probably some of you in the room need to do better with your eye targeting, because you may not be aware in your own game that you're moving your head or your eyes during the approach at some point. And that means from stance to foul line until the ball rolls over or very near your target, you never move your eyes. And then from that point, you follow the ball down to the lanes. You have two jobs. Your eyes only have two jobs. Stare at the target, and then once it hits it or passes by it, you watch the ball motion the rest of the 45 feet. It's pretty simple. Sounds like it. But it deserves your respect, because this is not as easy as it sounds. Try it. When you bowl next time, check your eye targeting. And if your eyes are moving around and now you're aware of it, try to keep your eyes focused on your target every single shot. You'll see it's a challenge. It's a skill that can be achieved, but if you don't give it the respect it deserves, it never will. And I've seen a lot of professionals move their eyes as well. I had a couple guys from Sweden that I was working with 2 months ago, and their eyes were all over the place. And did you know this? Nope, I had no idea. PBA players. So we got to make sure we develop that with every player. It needs to be practiced by itself. Yes, sir?
Anybody 1 through 40 haven't picked the ball up, don't pick it up.
I feel left out. It needs to be practiced by itself. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, the blue one. So when you're working, if we go back to the physical game discussion, when you find liabilities, please make sure they work at one thing at a time. Don't have them multitask. We're two things. We're insane and we're multitaskers. And that is very hard to do. So please have them work on one thing at a time. This especially, because if they're trying to do this and work on timing or swing, neither one is probably going to get better. So they could spend a whole practice session, as boring as it might sound, on that. And I tell every player I work with, even the young ones, the best practices you will ever have as an athlete are the most boring ones. You've got to have, do you think if practicing was a blast every day, don't you think there'd be more world champions? It takes hard work, and the hard work is getting over the boredom sometimes of repetition. And so this repetition is critical, but it has to be done, because if you go out on the, in fact, try this. Don't tell your players what you're doing. Early in the season, go out on the ball return cap about 5 feet past the foul line. Don't tell them why, and just watch all of your players and count how many of your team are moving their head or eyes at some point during their approach. I'm sorry to say you're going to be shocked, and not in a good way. So you're going to see that it really needs to be worked on. A great physical game will not overcome this. So if they look like a textbook machine throwing the ball, but their head and eyes are all over the place, this is not going to shine through. The physical game will not shine through. Eye targeting during competition can be maximized even more by two things. So let's say they practice it. They have no stress in practice, right? We practice, we have no stress, no score, hopefully, and we're working on things. Well, it's pretty easy to keep your eye on the target, relatively speaking. Now you come out here to a tournament like this. Now it's challenge time. So what these bowlers out here need to be doing right now is staying hydrated with water. They've done a lot of studies with other sports, gun shooting, bow and arrow, things like that that really require stable eye targeting. And they found that the feeling of thirst, which is the definition of dehydration, actually increases eye movement. So if a bowler is thirsty and is dehydrated, all that practice will not pay off. Their eyes will start to move. It's just a biological thing. The other thing is stress management, and we'll talk about the mental game next. Stress management will also reduce eye movement, because when we are stressed and feel pressure and we're not handling it very well, the eye movement will increase. So either one of these can make the eye targeting during competition even more of a challenge. So as you can see, this is a big obstacle. It's not easy. Just because you tell a bowler to look at the second arrow and keep your eyes there the whole way doesn't guarantee it's going to happen. They have to practice it, and then they have to manage it these ways in competition. So watch this guy. This is kind of some things you're going to see when you go out past the foul line and watch. Watch very closely as he gets down to the release. Yeah. Yeah, so his eyes were closed. I said, why do you close your eyes before you let go of the ball? He's like, I don't do that. Check it out. There we go. What you looking at? Back of my eyelids. What you're looking at. So yeah, and then his head moves a lot. So the eye targeting was virtually impossible for this young man. But this is an extreme case, but you'll see that a lot, where the eyes either close, they'll move. And there's two things that you can tell your bowler why this is important. Number one, of course, it will guarantee that you hit your target more often. But to me, that's not the most important reason. The most important reason is if you're doing it very, very well, even when you don't hit your target, your misses become this and not this. Because we're not machines, we're humans. We are going to miss our target. If you look at your target 100% of the time, I promise you, you will not hit it 100% of the time because you're a human. But the misses become more manageable. The misses can still result in a good ending. But if the eyes are moving and the misses are like this, you got no chance. So to me, that's even more important than increasing how often you do hit the target. So again, 1 and 2, everyone knows that. If I had you all bowl right now for 5 minutes, I come around, where are you standing? You could tell me. Where are you looking? You could tell me. But how many of you know where you're finishing, where your ball's crossing the foul line, and maybe even the break point? Yes, sir.
Quick question with the eyes. I've had several bowlers and also given bowling lessons, and I did it when I was a kid too. The picture approach, and they have to look at the foul line. Is there a tool or a quick fix other than just say, keep your head up, keep your eye up?
You know, a lot of it is just, it is, and a lot of it is first videoing to make sure they see what's going on, and then make sure they understand that this is not a one-day thing. It's not a one-day fix. And the other way you can do it, and I don't use a lot of visual aids because I want the bowlers to not rely on that. However, if you have 2 lanes, you can put some type of visual aid at the target on one lane, have them get used to looking at that bright whatever it is, and then go over to the other lane without the visual aid and kind of wean themselves off of it. That would be a decent way of utilizing the 2 lanes if the bowling center will let you do that. But other than that, it's just knowing that they don't do it as well as they think by showing them video, and then encouraging them to understand that it's a skill that has to be practiced alone, not with something else, and it deserves your utmost respect. As a bowler, you cannot take this for granted, and we do. We take it for granted. So there's no shortcut. I wish I could tell you there was. Like a magic wand, I wish there was, but I don't. The crystal ball and the magic wand, anybody know where I can get one? Because I will pay top dollar. It'll make my job a lot easier. Okay. So let's go. Now let's say that you have good physical game and you have the good lane play and targeting. Fortunately, the mental game, a lot of us nowadays are starting to admit that we have shortcomings. I know when I coached high school bowling a long time ago, a lot of the kids were very, very guarded against talking about their mental game. And I found out why. And that was because at that age, a lot of them felt like that was a weakness. They felt like that made them less of an athlete. Because they actually shared this with me after I kind of dug deeper. And I had to make sure they understood that, no, stress management, that's not very good at this point. The fact that you feel pressure, that you feel nervous, that's normal. If you don't feel that, go find something else to do. You're in the wrong sport. It's not a matter of eliminating that. You can't. You just have to manage it. So it's not a weakness. It's a skill like everything else, and you have to develop it. So we want to elevate the physical performance mentally through the mind game. And we're going to go through a quick 5-step approach for your brain that I want you to implement right away. The mental game could take weeks. The mental game could take months to really get at the details of everything that a bowler needs to know. You don't have that kind of time. You don't have that kind of time with as many athletes as you have, with the limited practice hours you have. So this will be a good kind of quick and easy way to get them introduced to the mental game so they can start managing that stress better, managing that pressure better. So the strategy planning, the first step of this is when they're not up to bowl. It's when they're back either in the bowler's area, on the concourse, wherever they need to be, and that's when they're going to think about what they're doing. Do they need to make adjustments? Is what they're doing not working? They need a plan B, a plan C. Are they going to make a move, right, left? Are they going to move angular, 2 and 1? Are they going to move parallel? Their feet and eyes the same number of boards, whatever it's going to be. Do they need to change balls? At the high school level, on most house patterns, those are the only 2 things they typically need. In a matter of a match, I don't know here, I know in my area, well, 2 regular games and 2 Baker games. What do you guys do here? I'm sorry? 2 regular games, and that's it? Okay, so yeah, there's not going to be enough changes where they're going to have to do a lot of other things. So a move, a ball change, or both is typically going to be all they need. Or if there is a long tournament format maybe on the weekend and they have the ability as a bowler to change their release or their speed or their loft, the versatility that we talk about with better bowlers, that could be maybe another option that they're going to consider changing. So let's say that they're not in the right place. They're not scoring. They're not hitting the pocket. They're not striking. They go through one of those 3 types of ideas. Or things are going great. They're bowling amazing. Stay the course. In either case, you have to commit to whatever you're going to do. So after you plan your strategy, make a change, stay the course, use mental imagery. Mental imagery, as far as the mental game toolkit that athletes can have, I think there's not even a close second to how powerful mental imagery is for so many things. Now, to know what they look like bowling, guess what they need? A video. So another reason for you to video your bowlers is to have archive videos of them that they can see and burn that movie of them bowling in their brain. They watch it, they close their eyes. They watch it, they close their eyes, and they burn that movie of them in the brain so they can actually do this in between shots so they can actually plan a new strategy. So if you visualize this ball change you're going to make for, say, 4 or 5 shots in your mind, you feel like you've already done it. And so you're going to have more confidence going up and executing the actual shot because you've seen it work in your brain. Mental imagery is a great tool to practice for free when you can't go to another lane and try that adjustment out. You guys don't allow that, do you? Yeah, I didn't think so. Yeah, I don't know of a place that does. So you can't, I'm going to try this new ball down here and then I'll come back. Yeah, no, I don't think so. So they can try it in their brain and it works just as well as far as the confidence. So you commit to the choice. Then you go down to the pre-shot routine. Hopefully they all have one. If not, try to get your bowlers to develop one. It is critical physically and mentally to have a pre-shot routine. They can use a dry towel, which is a new rule, by the way. I'm sure most of you know that. As of August 1st, dry towel only from now on. Or they can use a grip sack or both. I use both in my game. Some bowlers don't want one or the other. That's fine. Just like your approach, your physical approach is very personal and unique, this needs to be unique as well. The mental component can be any or all of these. It can be diaphragmatic breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Very relaxing way to athletically breathe. Mental imagery, one last shot of watching yourself do that great shot or that adjustment, or see the line on the lane that you want your ball to travel. I can see red very clearly. Red just jumps out to me. And so I can see a red line on the lane. I draw a road map. I see the ball traveling down this road map, and it makes me feel a lot better about my shot. Self-talk. How many of you have said things to yourself bowling that you would never say out loud? Yeah. So, sometimes you say it out loud. You probably shouldn't have, but you do. But we all do that, and that negative self-talk is so prevalent in sports, but it's so detrimental to our performance. So we have to change that self-talk and reframe it to be positive. Again, some bowlers aren't going to have a lot of luck doing that because they just beat themselves up all the time. But the mental imagery, the diaphragmatic breathing, focusing or becoming external. Let me explain that real quick. There are 2 mindsets in bowling. One is internal, one's external. Internal is for practice. Internal is this side of the foul line, where you're working on eye targeting or your timing or your swing. External is that side of the foul line. That's watching your ball motion. That's making adjustments. There is a defined wall at the foul line. When you're practicing, you should be 100% internal. When you're competing, you've got to be 100% external. If you're juggling my physical game with my ball motion in a competition, I don't like your chances. I don't like your chances at all. Because every shot you throw, you're going to find something wrong with it. Because who is your own worst critic? You. And so if you're thinking about your physical game and your ball motion did something different, you're going to first blame yourself and say, well, I can throw that better. Now you're behind. After you do that, now you get on the lane. Now it's performance time. So now, how many of you as a bowler have overthought on the approach? Yeah, it's another thing we do. We're perfectionists and overthinkers. So the goal is to think of nothing. Well, you're awake, so you're going to think of something. And bowlers who tell me they think of nothing on the approach, the first thing I ask them is, are you awake? Yeah. Yeah, well then you're thinking something. You just either don't know what you're thinking or it's not consistent. We want to quiet the conscious brain. That's a more realistic statement than think of nothing. And so how you can do that is use music. Not literally with a headphone or devices in your ear, but play music in your head, just like you watch yourself bowl in your head. If you play music in your head, it's fun, because you like music, most people do, and it also distracts your conscious brain from thinking all the things that we shouldn't think. So if you've never tried it, try it in your own game first. I have done this for a long time, and I've done it for so long that if I went out there right now in my street shoes and took a house ball and just walked up to the foul line, a song would pop in my head. Usually it's Boston. Usually it's More Than a Feeling. That's my go-to song, right? And I go 180 degrees the other way. It's either that or country music. It's one or the other. But if I do that, it takes my brain away from all the stupid things that I think. Nike has the best slogan ever, just do it. There was a bowler back in my area that tried the music, didn't work. Physically, it was visibly obvious that she was stressed, couldn't manage it. So finally, it was just told to her, just find something non-bowling related that takes your mind off the game, and we'll figure out what that is later. And so she suddenly started looking a lot more comfortable in competition, a lot more relaxed, a lot more confident. And so we had to ask, what are you thinking about? She said, I figured it out. I'm solving higher mathematical equations in my head. I looked at her like this. Like people look at me, I said, you got 3 heads. What? She's doing like calculus level equations in her head because she's just a math genius, and that makes her feel comfortable. That would stress me out to no end. But that's what made her feel good, like music makes me feel good. So whatever works for your bowlers is fine. The music usually works most of the time. Now, the emotional cleansing is after you throw the shot. You're a human. You're not a machine. I expect you to have emotions. Now, you can't flip the pins off, kick the ball return. We've got to keep it in check. But there needs to be some type of emotional outburst so that you can get it out of your system. Now, a lot of people automatically assume I'm talking about bad shots. No, a lot of times I'm talking about the good shots. Sometimes the good emotions take you out of your focus faster and more harmfully than the bad ones do. Sometimes if we get angry, we get more focused. We actually get more determined. If we are bowling great, we get lazy sometimes. And so those good emotions can take us out of that. So what you want to do is apply the 15-second rule. This is a great rule that I learned when I worked with the Team USA staff, where after every shot, you have 15 seconds to get it out of your system. That gives you enough time after you leave that 10 pin that you thought you shouldn't have left. Hint, you should have. It gives you enough time to get that out of your system and make the spare. We want smaller peaks and valleys. We want a little kiddie roller coaster of emotions, not the Kings Island or Cedar Point type roller coasters. And so the 15-second rule will allow you to get the anger out, make you feel like you're the best bowler that's ever lived on that shot. Whatever it is, get over yourself. I need you to do it again. So we want 15 seconds. Now, the last step is pretty easy. 3, focus and redo. Go through that process all over again. So the process is strategy planning, pre-shot routine, physically and mentally, the performance of actually throwing the ball, emotional cleansing, get it out of your system, 15-second rule, and then redo it. It's a very simple process that encompasses several good mental game skills. Mental imagery, self-talk, diaphragmatic breathing, these are all critical to athletic performance. If you introduce this sequence to your players, it doesn't take a long time to develop this to some degree. And this will then encourage their physical game to be at peak performance more often. All right. Questions? Yes?
Through 45 if you haven't gone over your small. Through 45.
All right, so I know that I have gone way past my time. First of all, I apologize. Secondly, I thank you for being patient, but I really want to go through all this stuff with you. I've been planning to do this for a long time, and I've been excited about coming, and I hope you'll bear with me while I go through one more that I think is going to be very eye-opening to a lot of you as bowlers. And as I said earlier, when we set out to write the book, we thought we were going to teach people. We learn more ourselves. And I am so thankful that I went through that painstaking process of writing a book. If you've never written a book before, it'll test your emotions and your patience, especially with a co-author. But we're best of friends, we're good. We just had we had a lot of disagreements throughout the process. But this was a way for me to become a better coach. And the great thing about coaching is you never stop learning. I've had my gold now for 14 years. And I feel like I have learned more in those 14 years than when I got my gold. And that's supposed to be the top of the USBC coaching tree. Well, I feel like I just started learning when I got my gold. And so it's so much fun to learn from other coaches, to do these bronze and silver classes and these types of events where I learn from players and coaches every day. And I love waking up and knowing I'm going to learn more about how to be a better coach today. And part of being a better coach involved the pocket. So what I'm going to ask you to do, I know you all have a little bit of a little notebook in front of you. I'm going to ask you to open up a page, just a scratch page. I'm going to go through 6 slides. And I'm going to ask you to number 1 through 6. And all you're going to do is, as I show each slide, you're going to answer the question with a yes or no. Do you think this is the pocket? So this is the first one. So you're going to write just number 1, and then you're going to put yes or no if you think this is the pocket. Okay, so the second one is that one. So again, number 2 now, you're asking yourself, is this the pocket? If you saw this ball go into the pins, would you consider that a pocket hit? Righty in the left lane and lefty here. We have both perspectives. The third one, so now this is number 3. Yes or no, is this the pocket? The fourth one, yes or no? The fifth one, is that the pocket? So again, right-handed bowler on the left lane, left-handed bowler on the right lane. And then the last one, number 6, is there. Is that the pocket? Now let's have some fun by going through the results. Because when we first started writing this book, it's now called Bowling Beyond the Basics. The actual first title was I Left the Pocket 710 and Other Bowling Fairy Tales. And we wanted to make a big focus of this book, which we wanted to write something that's never been done before. We didn't want to write a how to bowl book. This book has nothing to do with how to bowl. Everyone's done that. We wanted to do something different. And so the pocket we thought was very misunderstood. Again, it goes back to the whole insanity thing. So let's see how we did. We polled a lot of bowlers on Facebook. We did a big Facebook poll as a part of our research. We had over 300 people respond to this. And we asked them to also tell us what level of bowler they thought they were. So we had a lot of bowlers say they were an expert bowler, novice, beginner, whatever the level was. So we had a variety of experience levels and skill levels responding to this. So this one, the first one that you wrote down, this is board 15 and a half. So the bottom of the ball is on 15 and a half when it impacts the head pin. The odds of a strike is 49%. How many of you said that was a pocket? Okay. How many of our bowlers who we polled said that that was a pocket hit? Was 53%. But 70% of the people responding to this, over 300 people, expected a strike when they hit that position right there. Here are some things about what you'll leave, some percentages of what you'll leave. All right, so let's go to the next one. The next one is 16. Show of hands, how many thought pocket? Please raise your hands high. Okay, good number. The odds of a strike are still about half, 51%. 78% thought that was the pocket, and 82% expected a strike in that position right there. Because it's, you know, in that general halfway point there on the head pin. 16 and a half. How many of you thought it was a strike? Now we're starting to get more and more, okay? The odds of a strike are only 58%. How many of our bowlers expected a strike was 91%. And most of the hands went up on this one here. This is where you hit on all those shots that you swore were in the pocket but didn't carry. Strike? Pocket? Board 17. Odds of a strike are still only 3/4. 71% expected a strike, and this is the lightest hit. The lightest hit that would be considered in the pocket area. 17 and a half. How many thought it was a pocket? One more time. How many of you thought it was a pocket? One more time. How many of you thought it was a pocket? Everybody raise your hand. No, but in all reality, about less than 10 of you raised your hand. The odds of a strike are 85%. How many bowlers expected a strike was 22%, and only 7% of our experts thought it would strike. This is the pocket. This is the only pocket. Is that right there? So if you're looking straight down the 20 board, let's say you're a right-handed bowler, you're going to see a very small sliver of the left side of the head pin. Most bowlers would call that high flush. It's flush. The problem is they think it's high flush, and then they move after they struck, and now they leave a 10 pin. So they're going the other way. Yeah?
Does the angle change?
Great answer. Great question. So does the entry angle matter? It does matter, but not as much as you think. So the entry angle, as it increases, by the way, 6% of entry angle is the most that you can get as a bowler, and that's very, very, very rare and difficult. So, I'm sorry, 6 degrees. 6 degrees of entry angle is very, very difficult to achieve, but going from 2 to 4 to 6 degrees does increase the lucky strikes a little bit more. It won't change this. This will be the same, virtually. If you're at 2 degrees, 4 degrees, or 6 degrees of entry angle, so you have more, a little bit less, or a little bit less of entry angle, if you're on 17 and a half, you're going to strike a lot. Entry angle becomes very, very unimportant at that point. The entry angle matters when you are off 17 and a half, and you might increase your lucky strikes.
What crosses a solid 9?
A solid 9 is actually the pocket. So let me show you, right here. Look at the highest percentage of pin you'll leave on 17 and a half. It's a 9. A lot of times we think that for a right-hander, the only true tap in bowling, right, is the 8 pin. It's actually the 9 pin. It's actually the 9 pin. So if we go back, this is, again, the highest percentage strike shot. 7% thought it would strike. But this is why, because this is the pocket, and that's why the 9 pin is the most common leave. Now, that could be because the pin's offset a little bit. Remember, by USBC specifications, pins can be offset a 1/4 of an inch. And so if they're offset a 1/4 of an inch, that can make the difference. I got some videos that are going to really drive this home here very soon.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I believe they changed that specification.
Is it? Okay, to what now?
It's dead on.
Is it? There's no tolerance now.
It has to be a tolerance.
I don't know. Last I heard was 1/4 of an inch. How long ago was that?
Last year, when they put
Okay.
new specifications in the.
We'll have to find out about that because some people are saying there's no tolerance now for pins being offset. I was still under the assumption it was 1/4 of an inch, so we'll have to find out what that is. Does anybody know for sure, 100% for sure?
Get Tom in here. Johnny, what's tolerance?
I'm not exactly sure, but what you're talking about is now there's those round marks on the index.
Yep.
Those are bigger than the base of the pin. So the tolerance is built into what you're talking about. That's why you can't have outside that round distance now. That round part on the bottom of the index that they have now
Right.
is bigger than the base of the
So there is a tolerance of
pin. Both are correct.
fraction of an inch. Okay.
So it needs to be in the spot, John, right?
Yeah, it needs to be in that circle, which is
Okay. Okay. But that can cause this. If there is that, if the bottom of the pin and that circle is not the same, there's a little bit of a tolerance allowed. So if that is offset, that can cause a little bit of what we see here. But the 9 pin is the pocket hit. The 8 pin actually is not. Now 18, how many of you thought this was a strike? Okay. Yeah, this is getting to be the high flush area. So this is actually a high flush. This is about a half a board left of the pocket for a right-hander. And this is where it's not actually the pocket, but it's pocket adjacent. Let's call it that. The pocket is a defined spot. And I think what I want to get out of this with you today is to see the pocket as a very finite spot and not an area. Because a lot of you raised your hand on the 16, 16 and a half, 17 board position. And that's where you're going to leave your 7s, your 10s, your 7/10s. And you're going to think that, well, that's bad luck. Well, that's not necessarily true. So let's go through this for a second. This is a study that USBC did. We actually adapted this with their permission for part of the pocket chapters of the book, where they did this study, and you can see with 17 and a half, the white, the gray, and the black are the 3 different entry angles. So the white is 2 degrees, the gray is 4, and the black is 6. So you can see at 17 and a half, look how much percentage of striking there is. Now, if you look at that, all 3 of those peaks on the green line are over 90%, aren't they? But back earlier, I said on 17 and a half, your strike percentage is 85%. Well, the reason is they did 2 different studies. They did this study, and they did a study they called I Left What Where. And they did hundreds and hundreds of high-speed shots watching where it hit the head pin and what was left. And this study takes the percentages higher. Those percentages that I showed you on each slide of strike percentage, that was the I left what where percentages. The truth is somewhere in between. So we have different numbers based on which study you look at, but the bottom line is if you hit 17 and a half, you're going to strike virtually every single time. Like in my experience, it's well over 95% of the time. So if we watch this ball here, I love this one too. It looks like it's spinning backwards, doesn't it? I love that. I'm going to let you watch that a couple times in real speed, then I'm going to slow it down. Because this is where, as a coach, you really should pay attention to this a lot more because your bowlers are not going to be aware of it. It might be worth a discussion with them so they know what you're looking at when you're talking to them. But that shot right there is going to strike over 95% of the time. And I'm probably being conservative on that number. And the reason is because of where it hits. So it's very high on the head pin. And because it hits high on the head pin, that's going to position the ball on the left side of the 3 pin. So watch as the ball goes into the 3, it hits the left side. The 3 goes into the 6, and the 6 goes into the 10. Nothing's left to chance. If you watch the left side of the lane, watch how the pins take each other out. If these sidewalls on the lane were 5 feet on either side, you would have seen exactly what you saw right here. These pins needed nothing to help them fall because of where the ball was when it entered that pin. Now, because it enters on 17 and a half, watch where the ball exits. Look at the 8 and 9 pin. Use the 8 and 9 pin as your reference points. And when the ball goes pretty much right between the 8 and 9, That's a perfect strike. That's where it kind of looks like the 9-pin is just kind of barely hit like that. That's a perfect strike. That's, again, what we mistake as high flush. That's flush. That's going to strike a lot, I promise you, every single time virtually. So if we watch the next video, this is now a pro bowler throw-in. We're watching in real time. I want you to kind of see the same thing by where the ball hits the head pin. For you to watch this in real time, for me to watch this in real time and tell you emphatically where that ball is when it hits the head pin, we're guessing. It's too fast. If I tell you, oh, I know that ball's on 17.5 when it hit the head pin, and I'm watching it in real time, you better question me, because that's hard to say. But watch the green ball through the pins. Don't watch the pins. If you watch the ball through the pins, which is very easy to watch, you'll see the ball exit relative to the 8 and 9 pin. That's what your bowlers need to start watching. We're so trained as bowlers to watch the pins fly around because that's fun. Well, that's not helping us any. We got to watch the ball where it exits relative to the 8 and 9 pin. That is just like the soccer ball. That's going to strike a lot. But what we have is balls that enter the pin deck like this. Now watch the ball. This is in slow motion, so it's easier. Watch the ball where it hits the head pin. You can see clearly that's to the right of 17.5. But that's in the area where many of you thought that was the pocket. But here's why it's not the pocket. So we'll see where it hits. Because it hits the head pin farther to the right, that's going to make the ball hit the 3 pin in the face, and it's going to barely clip the left side of the 6. And so the 6 can't go into the 10, and in this case, the 6 falls in front of the 10. Watch where the ball's exiting, right in front of the 9 pin. So that was an area where a lot of you and most people think is the pocket. That 10 pin is exactly what Belmo deserved. This is his shot, by the way. Sorry, Jason, I had to pick a shot where he left a 10 pin. This is what he deserved. Not that he threw a bad shot. Please understand, there is a difference. You could have thrown the best shot you've ever thrown in the history of mankind, and this could still happen. This does not mean you threw it bad. It just means you're not in the right spot to get it to finish on 17.5. Now on this shot, I think this is the one that we all kind of cringe when it happens. That solid ring in 10, right? This place sucks. The bowling gods hate me today. All the excuses, right? Well, when I slow it down, tell me what's different there between this one and Belmo's. Position's the same. And so because of that, the ball's going to hit the 3 pin. The 3 clips the left side of the 6, and in this case, the 6 flies around the 10 instead of going into the gutter. But watch the ball. It exits closer to the 9 than it does between the 8 and 9. Sean got what he deserved. No offense to Sean. No offense to any bowler they say that about. But they got what they deserved based on where the ball hit the head pin. Kelly Kulik. Oh. How many of you have left a pocket 710? Put your hands down. You've never left a pocket 710. Trick question. You've never left a pocket. It's impossible. You're either going to leave a 710 or you're going to hit the pocket. You can't do both. You can't do both. You can't possibly. Oh, hold on. Let's go back here. How's that any different than the other two? It's right of the pocket. It's light. It's not the pocket. It's right of the pocket. And so because of that, in this case, again, the ball goes into the 3. 3 clips a 6. The 6 falls into the gutter. Ball exits closer to the 9 pin, but the 7 doesn't go out. So you could say there's a little bit of bad luck that maybe the 7 didn't fall. Well, okay. But the 710 is not the pocket. There is no set. Remember the original title of the book? I left a pocket 710 and other bowling fairy tales. There's no such thing as a pocket 710. All 3 of these examples, the pocket is not hit. The ball is to the right of the pocket, substantially to the right of the pocket. Imagine, if you will, a line across the lane, right here. Your job as a coach and as a bowler is to get that ball to finish farther left or right at head pin impact. That's really what bowling comes down to. That's what all of this out here today comes down to. These kids out here bowling, all of it comes down to that. Cut out all the other crap. Your job comes down to where is the ball on a line across the lane at head pin impact. If you get it to 17.5, you're going to be around a long time that day. If you don't, you probably won't. And we need to understand what that pocket is, and that pocket is 17.5. So if we watch, this is going to be a series of probably 7 or 8 shots. I want you to watch every one of them. Watch the ball going through the pins and what's left, and you're going to start to see a very, very common trend. It's not as random as we might think it is. They all look like good shots, don't they? And maybe they were, physically, but they're not in the pocket. By the way, lucky strike. Yep, right there. You see the trend? The ball's hitting right of the pocket. The ball's exiting right of that spot between the 8 and 9 pin and the 10 pin standing. So now these same bowlers make the adjustment, and we see this. So what that adjustment is going to be different for bowler to bowler. They might move, they might change balls, they might do both. Maybe change speed, change hand position. There's a lot of things you can do to change where the ball is left to right on the lane when it hits the head pin. But these are pocket hits that are going to carry every single time. Lucky shot. That wasn't the pocket. You feel good, right? Yeah. Well, you better move or it's going to stand next time. Get over yourself and move because you got lucky. And so I think that's critical for you as coaches to know, that when your bowlers are not carrying, it is not bad luck. There is very little bad luck in our sport. This is the pocket. And understanding the difference between good luck and bad luck is critical. I grew up, and I even coached for a long time, telling bowlers that we're a very unique sport. We have a lot more bad luck in our sport than other sports. We're just in a sport where there's a lot of bad luck. Carry. I was of that belief for a long time. And now I know differently, that the amount of bad luck is this, and the amount of good luck is bigger than this bowling center. We get so lucky all the time and don't even realize it. When you see a pin fall late on what you thought was a pocket hit, you got lucky. When you see a pin stand on what you thought was a good shot, you got what you deserved. Just to be blunt. Again, not that you threw the ball bad. Has nothing to do with that. It has to do with your adjustments and how you're playing the lane. How many of you have missed spares because you're angry you left it? Yeah. I'm laughing because I know I've done that way too many times. I've left a single pin that I didn't think I deserved to leave, and I couldn't get rid of it in that 15-second rule. I didn't know the 15-second rule, so I was still angry when I shot it, and I missed the spare. That's unforgivable. There's no way that should ever happen. A, now you know what the pocket is, and B, if you use the 15-second rule, your emotions are cleared before you try to shoot it. And more importantly, if you are truly knowing what the pocket is and you're truly watching the ball through the pins, you will make quicker and better adjustments from fact and not fiction or fairy tales of what the pocket used to be. So now you know what the pocket is, you'll make better adjustments because now when you leave that ringing 10, you know that you can do better. You're not going to be insane and stay the same place and hope it falls down the next time, because it probably won't.
Can we edit this part out? That way our competitors don't know it.
That's up to you guys. Sure. Here's the general rule, the bowl smart rule, is if you leave pin standing, you did not hit the pocket. And I know you're going to think of some shots that you've thrown in your career, and you're going to think, I know I hit the pocket and that pin. No. If you hit the pocket, they would fall. Is there a 1 or 2% chance? Sure. Nothing's 100%. But just for general conversation's sake, if you leave a pin, you did not hit the pocket. And so hopefully that'll open your eyes this week when you bowl league, and you'll kind of see things differently. And then you can coach that more appropriately and more effectively to your bowlers, because you're going to implement it in your own game first before the season even starts. and then you'll know what to tell your bowlers. But this will help them to make better and quicker adjustments from reality and not what they thought was reality. This was so much fun to study. It was so much fun because the randomness is not as much as we think it is. Things happen for a reason where that ball hits the head pin. Yeah?
2 inch margin of error out the window.
2 inch margin of error at the head pin? Yeah, no. Yeah, a 2 inch margin of error equates to about a 2 board margin of error. No, 2 boards is not the pocket. The pocket is a spot, 17 and a half. Anything right or left of that is not the pocket, and if you strike, you got lucky. But that's okay. That's part of our sport. I have never seen a perfect 300. Never. Meaning all 12 shots were on 17 and a half. I've never, ever seen a perfect 300. I don't think, well, I can't say I don't think it's been done. It's probably been done. I've never seen it. It's got to be very rare. Think about any of you that's had honor scores in here. You've had some lucky strikes that maybe you didn't realize were lucky. But that's okay. That's part of the sport. You threw it great, but the ball didn't finish where it needed to. Any questions on this? Yes?
So when we started today,
Yeah.
it was 1/2 MV squared. We want more velocity.
I know where you're going.
Now you're saying 90% of the time it's going to strike if we put it in the right spot.
Yes.
So if I can be more accurate by going slower.
Okay.
Does that align with what
Okay, so the question is, earlier today I mentioned the kinetic energy pin carry is half of mass times velocity squared. So he's saying that if I can be more precise by being slower, but I hit 17 and a half, won't that strike more? No. So, well, and the reason is because you're human. So even though you might go slower and you feel like you're more precise, it's not going to equate into you hitting 17 and a half that much more frequently, if at all. What I'd rather you do is go faster, because if we go back to this chart, if you go faster and you throw the ball faster, remember I said that we all get lucky strikes every day, more than you realize. Yes, if you increase your kinetic energy by throwing either a lighter ball faster or moving your body faster and throwing it faster, the sides of this curve go up. You increase your lucky strike percentages. That, to me, is the main reason why I never slow people down. In fact, I'm always speeding people up because I know we're not going to hit 17 and a half every shot. It's not going to happen. But if I hit 16 and a half, 17, 18, 15 and a half, and throw it 2 miles an hour faster, I promise you, through the laws of physics, not the laws of Ron, those peaks go up. You increase your strike percentage on the lucky strikes. And here's the test. Throw 20 shots at your normal speed hitting the pocket area. Not 17 and a half, just the pocket area. Record how many strikes you get. Speed up. Make sure your ball speed is actually faster. Get lined up at the pocket area. Hit it 20 times. Record how many strikes you get. If you don't get more strikes the second way than you do the first way, I will retire from coaching. Yes?
Are you suggesting, too, to maybe go with a lighter ball? I was trying to get bowlers to kind of move up through the season.
And that is the most common thing. And again, I used to be of that mindset. But in studying a lot of the math and science and physics that go into our sport, I know it's the actual opposite. I have taken a lot of bowlers down in ball weight. And I'm going to tell you this, and this is being recorded, so I will not lie to you. I will tell you that there has not been a single bowler that I've taken down in ball weight that's ever gone back up. Now, some of the people have said within a week, my carry is better, I'm never going back. Some bowlers it's taken a few months, but they always come around. One of my best friends last week, I tried to get him down to 14 in May. He finally did it. He had the worst summer of his career. He said, that was a horrible change. I said, Keith, please stay with it. He messaged me last week. After a month of league, he's averaging 242. He said, I see it now. He said, I think I was just trying to make it do too much in the summer league. Now I'm just bowling and letting it do its thing. And he can't. He's 20 pins over his average. No bowler has ever gone back up who I've gotten down. In fact, one bowler, coaches a high school in Ohio. He was throwing 15 pounds, had some neck pain. So for his own game and his pain management, he wanted to lower his ball weight. But he also did it because he read the book and we talked about things. He went to 14. He shot 5 700s in a row with half the neck pain. He said, what the heck? I own the bowling center. I own the pro shop. I'm going to drill up a 13-pound ball. His first 2 sets were 757 and 803 with a 13-pound ball. And no neck pain. With 13 pounds, he had 0 neck pain, threw the ball naturally faster, increased his pin carry, kinetic energy, and shot those scores. So, yes, I am getting people to go down in ball weight because that alone will increase kinetic energy. If you don't change anything physically, you will throw a lighter object faster. If I can also get them to move faster, then we're going to increase speed even more. By the way, the exaggeration for that, 3 letters, run, right? So in the history of my coaching, I've never told a bowler to run and then seen this. Never. No one's ever going to run with a bowling ball, right? So the exaggeration is not going to happen. But what they'll do is they will, and I'll video the first one, got to video the first one. They're actually going to feel like they're running, and they're just going to move everything quicker from head to toe. Head to toe, everything quicker. And I'll video the first one, and I'll say, okay, here it is. The reaction is the same every single time, and here's what it is. That's it? Yeah, that's it. They're surprised at how slow they look compared to how fast they felt. And so I video the first one so they can then trust it and keep doing it. And then by not changing their mechanics and just changing their tempo, they don't change their timing. They don't change their swing. It's easy. If I had the time to go out there and work with all of you on speed today, I'd have you all running, throwing it faster within 15 minutes. Not because I'm that good, because I'm not. It's because it's that easy. It's that easy. If you just really think about running, move back on the approach, if you can, 12 to 18 inches, because when you move quicker, you will take naturally longer steps. So you need more runway. And then you will throw the ball faster. It's easy. So if you go down in ball weight a pound and move quicker, increase your ball speed 2 to 3 miles an hour, yeah, you're going to hook it less. Who cares? Who cares if you hook it a little less? Just move right and straighten your angle up, or move left if you're left-handed, straighten your angle up. Throw it faster. I promise you, you'll strike more. Yeah?
Is there a thing that's too much speed?
Are you asking me, or are you asking... Yeah.
Is there too much speed?
I can't say no. I can't...
Slow that ball down because you're going way too hard.
Yeah. I can't say no, but it's hard for me to say no. Because I think it's going to take a lot of things for me to actually say that's too fast. Because I know there's other ways to change the shape. So let's say that they're throwing it faster. In control. Now again, if they're out of control, that's too fast. But that's hard to actually get to that point. So if they're in control and the ball's not shaping up enough, there's other ways to do that before you slow down and lose kinetic energy. Change your angle, change balls, go to a lower RG ball, go to a ball with more cover, more surface preparation, less hand rotation will make the ball hook sooner, less loft. There's all ways of changing distance of a bowling ball before you lose speed. I tell coaches this. Let's say your bowler has 10 ways to adjust. Slowing down is number 27. That's how much I hate slowing down. Now, I could probably be on an island by myself, right? You all might think I'm just wacko right now. And I could live on that island all by myself and I would still be okay. Only because I have done this for so long, because I'm 97 years old. Wow. We got to practice that more. And I just know that through doing this so much that bowlers who throw it faster, they never go back. In fact, I've had a lot of good bowlers that I've worked on speed as an adjustment for tournaments. Once they do it for a while, they do it all the time. They come back and see me the next time. I said, so how's that adjustment working out? They said, adjustment? I throw it that fast every day now because the carry is so phenomenal. I know I've run way over. Thank you guys so much. I apologize and I thank you at the same time. Thank you guys. One more thing. If I know that I know this was sent out to you, but if this is something that is of interest to any of you, I am doing a bronze class pretty close to the Indiana border the last weekend of October. So if any of you want to get your bronze certification in Oxford, Ohio, the last weekend of October, I will be conducting a bronze class. The bowling center is fantastic. This is a very small center that has all the tools and toys that Kegel has. It's a fantastic center. So if you're interested, that's online at bowl.com. So if that's something that works in your schedule, I'd love to have some of you there. So.
I was going to ask him about that. Tomorrow is the deadline for the $50 discount.
Yeah, the earlier bird discount ends tomorrow. I think, what's that, the 23rd tomorrow? Yeah. So if you want to save $50 from USBC, tomorrow is the deadline for that. After that, it'll be back to the normal price of $295. And so it's a 2-day class, 9:30 to 5:30 each day.
I think it'd be worth it. I've been there. How about another round of applause?
And if any of you are interested in the book, I do have them here. I would love to hear what you think about it after you read it. And again, thank you all again. I appreciate you having me. I've enjoyed this so much being with you guys.
Anybody with the ticket back here, 1 through 45, if you haven't seen Tom do that, had to wrap that up. But it's just 5 minutes here of a break so we can get started again. We're just a tad behind.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. 20. Yeah, I know. I ran. I'm sorry. Thank you. I hope I didn't ruin it too much. I hope I didn't mess you guys up too much. Okay. All right.
For me, the more ball speed, I'd like to get more ball speed. That's one of my issues.
What are you throwing? 15s?
I'm throwing 15s. But the other thing is the approaches seem sticky. I got shoes that basically are a slicky thing,
Right.
but they still stick. So it's tough to run up there fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just not going to get a slide because I like to slide.
Yeah, you got to change that sole a
I
little
got to
bit.
go to the ones that are
Interchange.
super slick,
Yeah.
almost like a sock or something.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely.
That's where
But going to 14 is probably going to help with that. I went from 15 to 14 last June, and I wish I'd done it years ago. And I can physically throw 16, but I'm so much better off throwing 14.
around 15, and I'd like to get it up there.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Lighter weight ball and moving a little faster. If you can get to 17, that'd be fantastic.
If I would slide a little bit, I feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
It's like if you're really going to the line,
Yes.
and all of a sudden, then you.
Oh, I know. Yes. Yes. Thank you, sir, very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Would you autograph it later?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Please don't forget that. Thank you, sir. Thank you. No, I got more. No, I just said a few. No, I got more. Let me go get some more, actually. Hang on 1 second. Oh, I've got help here. Thank you. Thank you very much. Awesome. Thanks. Oh, okay. There's one there. Yeah. And then here we go. Yeah, thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Somebody that's lost 120 pounds not to stay close to their body.
Not to stick.
Because I feel like I'm still.
Oh, okay.
So when I'm bowling, I'm constantly coming
Yeah.
around thinking.
So like your backswing's away from you?
Yeah.
So when you're pushing the ball out, you're gonna hit your leg. You're gonna hit. I want you to hit your thigh.
Really?
Yep. You won't. There's no chance. You never will.
Right.
Yeah. You never will. But yeah, you got to feel like you're gonna hit your thigh, and as you're coming through, you're gonna hit the back of. You're right-handed.
Yeah.
Hit the back of your left heel as you're coming through the release. That'll bring the swing closer.
Okay.
You'll never hit yourself. I would never ask someone to do that. Thank you.
I mean, I work with it and I video.
Yeah.
I do a lot of video.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm staying out, but watching it, I'm like.
120 pounds?
Yeah,
That's
it feels
amazing. That's amazing. Good for you.
That's why
Yeah,
I'm
you got to really feel like you're going to actually hit yourself in both ways
Okay.
to get that closer. Yes. Yes, let me take care of a few other ones, and I'll do that in just a few minutes here. You wanna go? Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thank you. Yeah, let me just take care of that. I'll be right with you guys. Hi. Absolutely, sure. So whoever wants me to sign, I have a pen I'll use actually. Oh, I got a special pen that I use. Yep. Special pen, that's right. Oh, no, I got this. Thanks. I'm good. Thank you. All right. So who's first? Mark.
Yes.
I think I just laid one out here for you. So, what's your name? Alex. Want me to get out to Alex? Okay. Great. Thank you very much. Stephen? So Steve or Stephen? Stephen? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Was it really? Oh, okay. I don't know where that came from. Huh. And your name is? Lucille. Okay. I love that name. The bronze. The bronze normal price is $295, and the early bird makes it $245. Are you thinking about coming? Oh, you're a little busy. I hope you can come see me for that. It'll be a fun weekend. Thank you so much. Ah, thank you, sir. Warsaw bowling team? You got it. That just made my day. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Hi. When I said that, I looked around. I saw people looking at each other. It was fun. Yeah, I saw people doing that. Well, there you go. That's probably. All... Do you want this made out to you? Tim? His name is? Craig? Okay. So let's see. So something about you not slowing down. Paula, right? Thank you very much. Good luck this season. Thank you. Need to move me? Yep. No problem. No problem. Oh, yeah, yeah. I guess that would help, huh? Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. No, you're not. Yep.
stay on YouTube. So, thank you.
That's what I wanted to ask you, see if I could look at.
Steve would have created it, but nothing you've done wrong.
Okay.
Just be how it's set up.
It's for the live stream. It's already on, so you just clip on and they can go in your pocket, whatever you want to do. It's like whatever's easier for you. Probably clip it on just like.
Doesn't matter. I'm going to be loud, so I hope you don't get feedback. You can control it. Yeah, cool, cool.
Okay, everybody, please have a seat, except those getting their books autographed.
Yeah, thank you.
Put a sign. I'm going to turn the volume down to 3 notches so we can get this segment of our clinic going. One thing you see here in my hand, I've got this green and white lanyard. Daniel brought some of these. They're T-map. They're on the table back where Ron is. If you want to grab one of those at some point in time, just a little bit of a souvenir. Today, we have been talking about it. I think last year at this clinic, Brian Pinker talked about T-map. I know this past year, Indianapolis South used, I think Larry Zaban up at the Lake Shore, and probably a few others either as a conference or individually. But we saw the need to better share our information. As we talked with others in Daniel in specific, we found out that also we can gather information with this app. So our intention was to have this up and running so we can do that this year. The timing, not such maybe we're going to get it all done, but after you turn your paper in like you've been doing in the past, then if you get a chance after up and running after today, go in and put the information on T-map. Either you can, maybe some of the coordinators told me that they would help, or my staff will get it done. But hopefully by tournament, we've got everybody on the T-map. So with that being said, our presenter today is Daniel Smith. He is going to run through, give you an idea of what's going on here, and then hopefully after that, have questions. Daniel?
Thank you, Steve. Nah, it's fine. You can hear me up the back okay? I'm going to take that as a yes. So, you're fine. First of all, yes, my name is Daniel Smith. I am the National Partnerships Manager at Team App. And I want to thank you for... You can hear me? I'll use the microphone. That's fine. Got me now?
Push the button on the bottom. That turns green.
You got me now? Great. And I was just saying, my name is Daniel Smith. I am the National Partnerships Manager at Team App. And I want to thank you for having me here today. When I come into these presentations, I normally look at some challenges that I'll face and some things I'd like to overcome. And I think I've got 3 challenges today. The first one being I am following lunch and a great presentation from Ron. So I think he's done a great job. Please stick with me, all right? Normally, after you have lunch, people want to have a little bit of a siesta and a snooze. But I assure you, this won't be death by PowerPoint. Will be half an hour, and I do want this to be interactive. So for those of you that have phones today, I'd love you to get into the Team App environment. The second thing, some of you will have seen app up on that screen. App equals technology. I don't like technology is what's going through some people's heads right now, or I'm not very good with technology. My second challenge today is to showcase to you how easy it is to use Team App. You do not need any technical expertise whatsoever to get on this platform, okay? So that's my second challenge. My third challenge, which unfortunately I can't change,
is you may have already picked up an accent. Yes, yes, my southern twang has not kicked in yet, but I am Australian, born and bred, and Kentucky is now home. It has been for the last 2 years, and I thought it'd be all right, but I realise I'm over the border now. So yes, I am Australian. But being in this room today, I know with 10-pin bowling, there is an Australian who's infiltrated the ranks. And every time I go to bowling alleys across the country, I see his influence more and more. So if you like Jason Belmonte, please be nice to me today, all right? That's my third challenge. So we're really excited as a company to partner with IHSB and to offer our solution for all you coaches this year. Before I get into the what is Team App, I think it's good to give some context as to who we are, all right? So as a company, we're now 8 years old. As I said, born and bred out of Australia. And the reason we exist and what do we do is Team App is a platform, technology platform, that can be accessed on your phone, your smartphone device, or the web or the internet on your computer, which allows you as coaches to communicate either with your individual athletes or teams, your parents, or anyone associated with your program. Okay, so the primary purpose is to communicate. Why have we grown so rapidly in the United States? We're now at a point where we have over 2.75 million active users in North America. And the reason we believe we have grown, especially in the schooling system, is athletic directors and schools are trying to alleviate coaches individually text messaging athletes or students, okay? It is a concern for them. What Team App does is it gives you your own private environment, so it's not public facing, all right? Not just any random person can go in like a Facebook or a Twitter and start messaging your athletes, so it's private in that regard, but there is also a level of transparency with the communication that is going on, okay? So that's why we exist. The primary purpose is communication, and our job is to try and make your coaching life a little easier when it comes to administration so that you can spend more time on coaching your athletes. Okay, that is our goal. I talked to this a little bit about the current platforms in the marketplace, and our original founder of the business, who is currently CEO today, he is a coach like yourself at a youth sporting team in Australia. And what he found was when he was volunteering, he was spending more time on administration, trying to manage the multiple communication channels that exist nowadays. The club that he was coaching for had a website. Then they were sending out emails. They were sending out text messages. They had a physical newsletter they were producing. So there was all this noise, and everyone wanted to be communicated to differently. So he's like, there's got to be a better way. I'm spending more time on my volunteer role than I am on my 9-to-5 job. So I've got to find a better way to do this. And hence, that's how Team App was born. Okay? And that is our core purpose. So, this app thing, right? This thing we call an app. How do I get one? How difficult is it to create? Well, the good news is that you can create a team app in as little as 3 steps. Okay? All you need, and this is what it looks like on your phone, you'll download Team App, so you'll go to the App Store or Google Play and search for Team App, so Teamapp. You'll download the app, and you'll see a button that says Create App. Okay, don't do this, by the way, because there's some good news coming up. You'll create the app, you'll put in some basic information on your team, all right, where you live, your time zone, which is important, and your sport, and literally that is it. your app has now been created. Now, the reason I've asked you not to do this is we have some good news for you today. That process has already been done for you. Okay, so what you see there, and we will go into a live example in a moment, you have all had apps created for you already. Okay, so we have an understanding of who's participating in the competition this year. We have created it. There's plenty of information in there already for you. So all we need from you today is to get access to that app environment. All right, and I'll talk to you about how you can do that in a moment. All right, so why has the IHSB partnered with TeamApp? And why should you use the platform? Okay, these are the features, and we will talk to these in our live demo in a moment, that you can find from an IHSB perspective. There will be information in the app on your bowler and team registration, okay, all of your documents in that process. You will be making your payments for your teams through the app this year. Okay, so that is a slight change of process. I will get Steve to talk to that when we get to the demo, but that will be done through the app moving forward. You will see the IHSB calendar. Okay, you'll be able to locate that in the app. There is a section that we call Coach's Corner. There'll be information on coaching material and other documents in there. News and standings, so you will regularly see information populated in the news and standings area as the season progresses. And lastly, you'll have some direct links to some of the key websites that I'm sure you're all accessing in your day-to-day. Bowl.com, Indiana Go Bowl, and obviously there is a component on the RVP and Safe Sport program, which you'll hear more about after me. But now I want to get to what can you take advantage of as coaches, all right? So that's great from an administration information sharing standpoint, but what can you do when you get into the app? So what the app provides, first and foremost, is an area to house all of your member information. When I first came to the United States, I thought, look, I've got to do some market research. I got to understand youth sport a little bit better in North America. Australia, I'll flag, I'm not a bowler. I'm a basketball coach back home. But coming here, I went out and watched some youth sport. And I was looking around and I see all of these people with these big booklets with reams and reams of paper. And I'm like, I don't know if they're trying to bodybuild or weightlift or something, and some of these ladies have got these in their handbags, and I'm like, surely it weighs your shoulder down. Anyhow, in talking to people, that's all of the information on their athletes. They said, well, we take paper registration, I need to know emergency contact details in case anything happens, insurance information, and I house it in this folder. There's obviously a much simpler and less heavier way to do that, and that's where TeamApp comes in. So as I mentioned, you can house all of your member information in the app. So if you do have an injury and you need to contact a parent, a mum or dad, you can literally bring out your phone and the contact details will be there. If you just need general information on the athlete, you can run reports on your membership. That can all be housed in the app. And I will stress, this is a private environment, so nobody can get access to this information outside of you coaches. Okay? Coaches, and I will flag conference coordinators as well. All right? They will have access to the app too. I spoke a little bit about news earlier. So we break up communication in the app in two different ways. News, or in your app it'll actually be called news/standings, is the ability for you to send out one-way communication. Okay, so you might want to send out communication that practice is cancelled. Okay, you don't need all of your athletes and parents saying why is practice cancelled, when are we next practicing. Okay, it's just one-way, practice is cancelled tonight, I'll deal with the rest later. Okay, you would do that through news. Obviously, when you send out that message, those that have Team App on their phone will get an instant notification. It goes out in real time, so it allows you to stay connected to your people in real time. You can also send out email as well with that same message. So if someone, it's becoming less nowadays, but they say, I don't have a smartphone, or I'm off the grid, I refuse to have a smartphone, then that's okay. We'll still get you in Team App, all right, but we'll communicate with you via email, all right, so you have that capability as well. You can upload images as you see there. You can put in videos. If you take small snippets or video clips, you can put that through the app as well. And you can also allow comments if you wish, if you do want some two-way communication. But news is primarily one-way communication. The second feature that I think you'll like to use is the chat. All right, so chat is two-way communication. It is where you can go in as a coach, send a message out to your athletes, and then obviously they can comment back. And it becomes like, for a better term, a Twitter feed or a comment stream where you'll see all the history of that conversation. Every time someone sends out a message, obviously the people who are associated with that chat will get a push notification to their phone. Another feature which I think you will like to use is our Teams and Schedule feature. So what this allows you to do is to record and receive notifications on things like your team practice or match schedule. I spoke a little bit earlier about people carrying pieces of paper around. I still see it now where I go out to local schools and a schedule has changed, a time's been moved or a date has been moved. And I see these coaches text messaging, trying to remember, have I messaged everybody? I've got to print off a bit of paper and put it up on a notice board and hope people see it. All right, you don't have to do that anymore. You can house it all in your app. Obviously, if a match has changed, people will get push notifications. You can take RSVPs. So let's say you have more athletes than spots to play. You can take RSVPs on who is coming or who is looking to attend. We have an attendance tracker. Coaches love this, where after each practice and or match, you can go in and track who actually attended. I've seen it a lot in youth sport where mum or dad come over and little Johnny's not getting enough opportunity to participate. Why is he not playing? Well, I can see in my app here through the attendance tracker that little Johnny only comes to practice 40% of the time. It helps you validate what you're doing. So you can track attendance. We've got integration with Google Maps, so you can put in the location of your events. And we also have what we call a recurring event series. So if practice is 4 p.m. every Tuesday, instead of having to create multiple events, you can put in the event once and set it out as recurring till the end of your season. I know you probably have questions as we go. I'll just ask that you write those down. I will open up for a question phase once I finish this. Lastly, surveys. So we're seeing this used more and more. A lot of coaches have previously used a Google form or a Jot form. You may have heard that, where you're doing a fundraiser for the program and you want to survey people on the best date. You've got 4 or 5 potential dates. What is the best date for everybody to attend? Instead of creating an external survey, you can do that within the app. Okay, so whether that be practice times or, as I mentioned, fundraiser dates, any series of questions that you need to ask your people, you can set up as a survey. So that's it. I know I've given you a lot of information. What we're going to do next is take you into a live demonstration of one of the apps that has been created already, so you can see it. Whilst I'm doing that, if you haven't done so already, I would love you to go to, if you've got your phone on you, go to the App Store or Google Play and search for Team App, so Team App, and download Team App. All right, so whilst we're getting this started, if you can do that, that would be great. You're right to talk to some of these. So I'll get you to talk to some of the IHSB sections. Okay. So what you see here, all right, this is our web-based version of the app. So to get here on the computer, I know I've just told you to do this on your phone because majority of you will have your phones on you. But if you were at home and you wanted to access TeamApp on the computer, you would go to www.teamapp.com, okay? And once you go there, you would be able to log in, you would get access to your app, and it would bring up a page that looks something like this. Okay, so this is our example we're using today. I'm going to get Steve to talk to the IHSB sections of the app, and then I'll talk to the sections which you will use more so at your team level.
Now your team app would be your school name.
Correct.
Okay. All right, the first section we got up here in the icons is the bowler team registration. And I've got underneath that the information that's pertinent there. The team roster for the coach is on there is the coach information as well as the player information. On the back side, same form we've used in the past. Then we've got the coach's waiver and also the student waiver down here. And again, same forms you've used, but they're available here.
Okay.
And all this information pertinent to the program. New this year is the safe sport. And John is in the back room, has been there all day with us. But that's the next segment talking about the USBC rule on the RVP and the safe sport. But again, all coaches have been required the RVP. USBC added this year the safe sport training. I won't dwell on that now, but just all that is have to do with the online registration information. Now the next segment there, he's got the team payment online and already loaded into your school. As we know right now, if you're a member center as IDCA, it's $300 entry into the program. That's per school, not per team. If your center is not an IDCA member, the cost is double, it's $600, and that will show there in your information. And again, I've got a couple of centers that we're dealing with right now, contemplating membership, and as of right now, that should be official what your cost would be. The next thing there you see is the IHSB calendar, and this is all the information we have loaded at this time. Today's clinic, your competition starts, right through the sectionals, the forms due for All-State, and the state finals. As I get information to add to this, I will add. Again, this is the IHSB, your coaches' information, your team, or your conference, be on down the list there. Right, your coach's corner, the same thing as it is on our website, all the forms for this year's program. Whatever it might be, again, it's just the exact same listing you have on our website. News and standing, again, right here, I've just got a welcome to the team app. And as we get up and get running, you will also find on here, as I get your information, your standings from your conference, I will list it here so you can go on one spot and see what's going on in Terre Haute or up in Fort Wayne.
Do you want to talk to the links?
And the links there that Daniel mentioned earlier, 3 links will take you right to the spot. Our Indiana Go Bowl, the bowl.com, and then also the RVP and Safe Sport training on bowl.com. Okay?
Perfect.
Steve, are all of the conferences loaded on that now?
They all are. Again, maybe an error or two, but we're 99% accurate. All the Coordinators were just put in. Friday we had a meeting, and all the coaches are listed. No, the coaches aren't listed yet.
No coaches yet.
Just
coordinators.
Coordinators, the schools, and the centers.
I couldn't find the Anderson colleagues on the IHSB.
We'll get with that.
We'll get to that. We'll find it. We'll help you find it. Okay.
Questions later, right?
Yeah. We'll open up for questions. Just let me finish this, and then I'll open up for questions. Okay. All right. So the areas that you as coaches will concentrate on the most, all right, will be news and standings. So albeit you'll see information flow down from the IHSB, you can also put in your own information in here. Okay. So when you log in to your app, once we do give you access, you'll have that capability to create a new news article. This is that one-way communication I was talking to you about earlier. So you give it a headline. You'll see two different types of groups in your app. You'll have your athletes in one section, and then you'll have your spectators in another section. So
Somebody pointed that out this morning. They've already been looking at it. As we called athletes, we have both the coaches and the players listed. The spectators are mom, dad, whoever else it might be. So maybe that should have been renamed, but athletes are both the coaches and the players. And maybe participants would have been a better title than that.
it's just a label. We can always fix that. So you're probably asking why the two groups. The thing with Team App is whenever we send out communication, we always want it to be targeted and relevant to the individual. So someone who's a parent or a grandparent doesn't necessarily need to know that practice has been cancelled. Okay, it's probably the last thing they want to know. They don't want to be receiving all these instant messages about it. So if it was practice is being cancelled, we would select just the athletes to send that to. You put in your information. Obviously, I'm showing you the web view right now, but you can do all this directly from your phone as well. All right, for those of you that have been in and played around. I can add images, I can upload video, I can attach documents, integration with Google Maps. I can also send an email copy. And then how do we want to notify people? Do we want to send the message out right now? Or as a lot of volunteers will do, you have your day-to-day job, you put kids to bed when you get home, you have some food, and then you end up doing a lot of your work at 11, 12 o'clock at night. So the last thing you want to do is send someone a push notification to their phone at midnight. They're probably not going to be very happy with you. So in that regard, you can choose to schedule it to send at a certain date and or time, or no notification whatsoever. All right, so that's one-way communication. Two-way communication is the chat feature that I mentioned earlier. So here's an example. This was a test that I went through yesterday. And I just said, hey, Steve and Scott, just testing out the feature for tomorrow's conference. Hoping you can send me a response or even give me a big thumbs up emoji. And the good news was I got a response from someone that I didn't even expect. So, so Carla, thank you for the thumbs up. And Scott also got that message too. So as you can see, it's that chat stream. It'll go back and forward. Every time someone sends a message, I get that notification. One question I will answer, because I'll probably get asked this. If I want to turn the notifications off for that specific chat stream, yes, you can. All right, so notifications are tiered. I don't recommend people turn off notifications for the entirety of the app. So make sure you keep that on for the app, but you can turn notifications off per chat stream. All right, so just keep that in mind. So that's chat, and then the last two things are, once you have submitted your team lists, you will then see your teams populated in here, at which point I can click on the schedule, and here's just two examples that I put in. That's specific to the boys varsity team, that's practice, and that could potentially be a match versus school X. And you'll see here, I've got detail around when that practice will be held. I can put in some text. I can even integrate with Google Maps there as well. So, but once you get access, go in, have a play. I'd like to think it's fairly straightforward in how you set these things up. But obviously, if you need help, we're here to help you as well. So, all right, at this point, I've waffled on for a little bit too long. So I will open the room up for some questions. So, yes, sir.
I got several questions.
Several questions. This is good.
The payment, you have the $300 in there. I'm assuming that it will then, when you go to the checkout, it's going to ask for credit card number or something like that for the payment?
Correct.
Okay, the other thing is, since I'm the conference director, I'm basically submitting the payment for all the teams in the conference. They're paying me and I'm paying you. So I have to go into each team in order to go 300 for each team. So I got to go into 5 separate things, or can I submit all 5 at once with one payment?
Did you hear that question? The conference coordinator asking if he had to go in and pay for each team individually. The answer was yes. Again, he is the conference coordinator. What I've had in the past, you as the coach turn your information in on time, on schedule, but a month later yet I still don't have it from the rest of the conference. This allows you to go on and make your payment on time, and then I know which teams that we're waiting on if it's not yours. Something to be worked out here. In the past, you've made your full payment to your conference coordinator, your conference fees as well as the state fees. He or she has then turned the state fees over to us. So this is one of those things that this year we'll work with, whether you as a coach write a check to your conference and pay us for the state, or you're paying him, your conference coordinator, and he in turn pays us. So that will work on probably an individual basis on that. As it is, each team will pay individually on the team app.
Second question.
Next question. So you got the information, like say news. I'm the conference coordinator. I want to send news to all the teams. I don't want to put the news in there once for Eastern, once for Western, once for Taylor, once, I want to put the news to all the conference teams, so I only want to put out one communication.
Right now, the way it's set up, you would have to go into multiple apps, but let me talk with Scott and Steve, because there are some things we could do that would probably help that. Yeah.
In there, you had the ability to attach a PDF.
Yes.
I'm assuming, can you attach an Excel?
No. No,
So
only PDF. And the reason, that's a good question. The reason that you cannot attach an Excel file is nowadays, not every operating system out there can read Excel files. So we ask you just to convert to PDF and then upload into
We got
the
like
platform.
schedules or match standings and stuff like that for our conference, and I put all that in Excel, so it's nice and easy. So then I have to save it as a PDF.
Just save it as a PDF. Yeah, correct.
So I would upload those files, or I send those files to Steve, and somehow then they show up in the team app.
Either or. I mean, yeah, anyone can do it. So that's probably a process that you guys will just need to iron
Last
out.
year we sent the information to Steve, and it showed up. So I'm just
I
trying
worked with
to.
Brian last year. It was sent to me that I forwarded to Brian. He put it on. Can we eliminate that? They just post their standings to be seen by the whole state.
Yeah, so from a technical standpoint, it's easy enough. But probably before you make a decision, maybe let's talk about it, whatever you think's best, and then we can send that out to all the conference coordinators.
Now, as far as sending out to everybody in the conference, Larry has his set up. That was an additional step to set up the conference where he sends to everybody.
Yeah,
Make sure.
we'll talk about that. So there's some things we can do through the portal that we could set it up so that they could get access. So is that one more? Yes.
You had the schedule on there. When you
Yes.
went to the schedule thing, it basically said we got a match against somebody. I put a schedule out for the whole conference. So on this day, Western's playing Eastern, Tri-Central's playing Taylor. So I got a conference schedule
Yes.
rather than an individual team schedule.
Yep.
So I can put a conference schedule out there. So there's one schedule to upload. Not that I have to go into each school and enter a schedule for each school for each date.
So the teams and schedule feature is something that the coaches can choose to utilize. So they don't have to insert each individual match into their app if they don't want to. I think from your perspective, stick with what you've been doing in the past. As a conference coordinator, you generate your schedule, you send it out how you have been. If the coach then decides that they would like to convert just their matches into that area in their own app, they can choose to do so.
So
right.
there's a place to put the team schedule out there for the whole conference.
Yeah, so you would stick with the same process that you have now.
I didn't know what the process right now. I sent it to Steve, but if I was going to put it out there, I wouldn't want to put it under Western when Eastern till everybody else gets it.
Yeah.
Is there a place to put it out there for the conference so that all the schools have access to it?
Yeah, there is a way. So we could have it so that it would go out to just the schools in your conference. Yes.
I guess the situation that Gerard's talking to here, he is the coach of a school, plus he's the conference coordinator. Most of you are just coach of your school, or some that are conference coordinators, so it's a separation, but he's looking at it from both angles there.
Yep. Question, sir.
Hey, Steve, we just created last year when we started, we created a Wabash Valley South Conference team app, and everybody was hitting that. I mean, now I know we're gonna have separate schools, but he could still just do a conference team app on his own and populate all of his conference tournaments and schedules and all that through there. Just make sure all of his coaches and parents have access to that as well.
That is also possible. The reason, obviously, we partnered first and foremost was to give every single team the opportunity to have their own app. But as a conference coordinator, and the good thing about Team App is you're not restricted just to one app. So when you log in, I'll show you here, and yours hopefully will not look like mine, but when you log in and you select My Teams, I've got, as you can see, way too many teams listed right now. So, but you can have access to your school app and then potentially have access to a conference app. And you might even have kids associated with other sports that use Team App as well. That could all be housed on your one phone under one account. Yep. Yes?
Steve,
Whiteberry's pointing at me. You're the guy that knows that.
now because this is a conversation we had, you showed that the waivers and so forth are in here. Are we going to this to have the waivers signed and so forth? And if so, how's that going to work?
Again, the timing here, and I know Shirley, you've already started practice. We were initially going to wait and do everything here.
Yeah.
But because of legal liability, we wanted you to go ahead and start practices with the signed waivers like you had in the past. Now that they're available, you can put them back here, sign electronically, or again, some of the coordinators said they would do that, or I've got staff that's going to convert that, transfer that information. As far as signing, would you just sign electronically, Daniel?
No, and this is where, correct, yeah, we did discuss this. I guess what we decided upon was this is new, and typically in my role, when you put something new out there, people don't like it. It's change. So what we thought was, let's house it in the app, but let's stick with the same process that you have been going through in the past, where you obviously download the PDF, you fill it in, and then you'll get it through to Steve. Longer term, the view is that everything will come through the app moving forward.
So then how's it being electronically signed? I mean, the parents have to sign the student waiver form and everything, and the student has to sign it as well.
This year, we're just getting off here and printing them, signing them, sending them back.
That's correct. So we've just housed the information in the app, but you'll stick with the same process now where you'll get a physical signature from somebody and then submit it through.
You've already got that, so.
Okay.
But again, just,
So that's why you're talking about the coordinators.
Yes.
And will help us get that this year.
Correct.
and again, you've got a good one, so if it can be done, we got a guy that can do it in Indianapolis.
Correct.
So related to that same question is, the forms are on there. I went on there yesterday.
They
I
are.
could see that you had the form, which was a PDF, which was not fillable.
Yes.
So that gets you the form that you can then print it out and go fill it out, and then have to upload it. Was the upload capability also in that same area uploaded somewhere else, or are we supposed to send the forms to you and you're going to upload them into the various team areas?
As in the information once it's been completed?
Completed form where it's been signed and filled out.
You will stick with the same process for now as you have been, where you email it through to Steve. Yep. Yeah, that's the same process for now. For now. Like I said, this is, because it was something new, we had an interesting meeting at Starbucks where we discussed, do we just roll out everything and transition everybody online and there's no more paper forms? But we did decide as a group that we think it's best year one. I call it a soft launch. You get access to the app. All your files are still in there. Obviously stick with the process you have been doing. And then for future, once everyone gets comfortable in using the app, we will then look to change process a little further as we go. Okay?
I think an example would be the RVP. It was available how many years ago? 8 years, whatever. And we put it out there to you guys, but we didn't make it mandatory till like 4 years ago. So the same thing here. It's available today. We're going to put it out. You can use, you can play with it, you can ask questions. Not mandatory this year, but that is sort of the way we're moving. Everything is done online, technology today. Why not bowling? Why not high school bowling? What should be? So as we work together to move forward, this is the direction we plan to go.
But one thing, this is the way we will communicate to all of you through this.
Correct. Correct, yeah. We talked about standings, all information that gets sent out will be sent out through the app. Question, sir?
Yeah, Steve, a little bit ago you had the $300 for the checkout for registration and everything. A lot of the schools are still going to want to send that paper check out after they get the receipt for that. That's still going to be an option?
And again, this year, yes. Paying all the coordinator, him writing the check for the whole conference. We'll work with you this year on this, but the reason going to the individual, because in the past, you paid yours the first day of practice, but I never got it till the middle of January.
And just to give some more context to that question, at the time you go and pay through the app, because this always comes up, when you go and pay through the app, you actually get sent out an automated receipt of that payment. So a lot of the schools are comfortable with the detail that's on that receipt. If they do, I've seen a lot of athletic directors will have access to a school credit card. So they pay with that school credit card and they're very comfortable with the receipt that gets sent out upon payment. Okay?
And on that as well, probably most of you aren't being paid by the school. I know in some of the conferences, some of the teams have said they need a invoice to get the payment from the school. Invoices are available through this as well.
So we can set up the app where you can send out, we generate a sale. So you can generate a sale to an individual via their email address. And that effectively, again, I talk about history, schools have been comfortable that that works as the invoice. It lists what you're paying for, how much you are paying, and then they would just go in and make the payment via the credit card facilities. Yes, ma'am.
Who's currently managing all of the team apps? Is that something like, is the coach gonna be able to put stuff on there, or is somebody else managing?
I will answer that question before we leave today, I promise.
My second question is, I don't see, they're not showing up on our home screen yet. Is that because you haven't given us access?
Are you just a coach, not a conference coordinator? Both conference coordinators have all been given access based upon the email addresses I was given. So if you are...
I got a bunch of messages saying you added me to all of them, but
yes.
they're not showing up on my home screen when I go to add myself.
I'll have a look before I go. Okay. But yes, sir.
All right. Everybody gets a message, a little red dot when you something, download it or what have you.
Yes.
Now I've noticed that yes, it'll show up in the team app, show a red dot telling you that you have
something new. Correct.
Something's happened, or in the case of this last week when everything was getting dumped in from my conference.
Yes.
You
probably had a few notifications. Yes, you would have.
But what I did yesterday, I think it was yesterday, one came across that something was updated, but it doesn't tell me where to look for it. When I go in to open up the app, I don't know where to go look for that red dot. Okay, so I can talk about usability. I had to go through different files looking for a date of yesterday to find, you would think that, when you open up your whole page, that the dot would have continued on to that page to tell you You need to go to files. You need
Okay.
to go to calendar.
Okay.
You need to go to text.
Okay.
Chat, whatever. It seems like a level missed there that you gotta
All right.
hide and seek to find where the red dot.
All right, I'll come and I'll answer. I'll be able to work that through that with you. So you typically get notifications, which it sounds like you are getting, but I'll find out why it hasn't told you.
The conference coordinator, as I understand his message, but he's got to go hunt to see which message came through. It's not at the top of the page, the last thing that came in.
All right, I'll have a look.
Which it was, and you know you got one, and in some cases I had coaches or parents already logging in.
Yeah.
That I had to actually move my main page down a little because it was, on my phone, it was showing up off the screen. It's just like, instead of being
All right.
under the logo, it's above the logo, and the logo pushes it off the screen.
All right, I'm gonna, in that situation, I'm gonna have a look before I can give an answer, but I'm sure there is an answer I can give you. Look, I'm very mindful of time, so I've taken up a fair bit. So I talked a little bit earlier about support, okay? This is new. Sometimes people get scared when we roll out new technology, but the good news is you are here to have some help, okay? So we do have an online support website, which you can see listed up there, which is just support.teamapp.com. All right, and it will look something like this. So support.teamapp.com if you want to write that down. And on here, you can search across different features. We have videos, we have articles, we have FAQs, okay? So you do have access to that. You will also have access to, obviously, Steve, and Scott as well. They've gone through the whole process of setting this up. They're very familiar with the app and how it operates. So email those guys and they will be able to answer any queries. The good thing I like about these situations too is that this being year one, some of you have used the app in the past. And because all schools are in the same situation, lean on the other coaches when you're at matches. Talk to each other when you're at events. Hey, I've seen that you did this in your app. How do you do it? Or I was trying to do this and I couldn't achieve it. What do you do in this situation? Bounce ideas off each other. And the last thing is, if you do want to speak to somebody, I am the man on the ground here in the US, so you can book a time with me where we just ask you to go through a link. That's just due to trying to manage everyone's requests. So you go to that link, you book in a time with me, and then I can give you a call and help you through it over the phone as well. So next steps from here. For those of you that haven't done this already, how do I get TeamApp? I spoke to this a little earlier. Go to your App Store or Google Play and download it. You can also access it from the web, www.teamapp.com. Okay? And the final page is conference coordinators. You should have been granted access to the schools in your conference. Okay? If you're unable to see them or access TeamApp as a whole, please email Steve or Scott, or I will be hanging around after this presentation. So come and see us, and we'll see what has gone on. Coaches. You have not been added to your apps yet, okay? So there is a reason you can't see it. So what we will do is we will look to add people before I go today, with understanding it's a big room, all right? And some of you may have to leave. If we don't get around to adding you today, again, send an email to Steve or Scott, all right? And all you need to send them is the email address that you want added and your school name. All right, that is all you need to send. All right, the email address that you want to use when you're in the app and your school name. All right, do you want to talk to when rosters and so on are due?
No changes here, as has been on your information sent out. The 28th of October, when your rosters, waivers, and payments are due. The organizational meetings that I've attended, most of the coordinators are asked to turn in at least a week earlier than that. So I would say your information should be in by the 21st, unless your coordinator has told you different. That gives them time, a week, to turn that over and get it back to me. But as we've done in the past, do the same as you've been doing. Fill out your rosters, fill out your paperwork, coordinator to me. And then we'll work on moving forward. Play with the app here, get your questions, get your information, and we'll move forward together.
Perfect. And the last two things, design change. So with Team App, you can give it your own customized look and feel. At the moment, all of your apps just have a standard IHSB logo and a standard color scheme. If you want to give it your own look and feel, so your own colors, your own logo, again, just email that through to one of the three of us, and we will be able to update that for you.
So we won't be admins of our own group?
You will be admins, but you will be what we call restricted admins. Okay, so you'll definitely have access to share your messages and chat and so on and so forth. And lastly, the team edition and the schedules, that will be completed for you after you submit your rosters. All right, so when you first log into the app, you won't see any teams listed. That is by design. We're just waiting for you to submit your rosters through, and then we will create that for you. All right, that is it from me. I want to thank everybody for your patience. Yes, sir.
So this is a two-way thing where if I comment on something, they'll get a notification and they can respond?
As in your athletes in your team, or?
The coordinators. So if they put something out and I comment on it, that they're able to actually respond?
The coordinators can, yes. Yes.
That'll be nice.
Yeah, coordinators can through the app.
Whether they will or not.
Yeah, I can't vouch for that. They will have access to. I should mention, yes. They will have access to.
I'll respond to it, but you didn't.
I don't know who he's talking about.
Look, thank you everybody for your patience. I know this is new, but I know in our conversations between Steve and Scott, they're excited about bringing bowling into an app platform and giving you the capabilities to access everything in real time and online. So if you need anything, just ask. But thanks again. Good luck for the rest of the day.
Scott and Daniel, and if I'm not down it after we get done here, if you want to get signed in, they'll be back here at the table to sign in. Just name, your school, your email address, and we'll go from there. Now, a little bit of a break, I think, as we're having a change in setup. John's got two USBC things to highlight here. Thank you, Daniel.
Perfect. Is that all right?
You're good. Is this yours, Daniel?
That's mine. Thank you. I'll get out of your way.
And you get the lapel pin too.
Lavalier handed off to him.
Give me 1 second, sir.
All right.
Oh, that's me.
Plan to teach us. It's ridiculous.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, it's good.
for you guys. Y'all gotta stay awake. So y'all got the hard part of staying awake now.
Finding a seat so we can move forward. I still finish on time, I know. what was scheduled was maybe a little bit quicker what we do. We have a little bit of leeway either way. We will be done by 4 as promised. Tom, you guys good with the raffle? Okay? We've lost a lot here, but I know as I've been to your meetings, we have talked about this. John McCarthy out of Louisville, he can give the more formal introduction of what his title is and what he's been doing, but he's here to speak to us about the USBC rule changes. So give your attention to John McCarthy.
All right, hello. I'll take this. Thank you, guys. I will do my best to keep this as quick as possible. I know we're a little behind. I have cut some slides out. So, Mark, I know you went to the Association Leadership Academy. This is not going to be the exact length of that presentation. Thank you. So, first and foremost, my name is John McCarthy. I am the Northeast Regional Manager. I live in Louisville, Kentucky. Your regional manager is Roger Petrin. The reason I'm here is I live in Louisville and he lives in Kansas. So it was easy for me to drive up rather than to fly him all the way here. He could have phone called in, yeah. This is our information. If after this you come up with questions, which I'm sure you will, you can reach out to either one of us. Our phone numbers and our emails. Another resource I'll give you is rvp@bowl.com. That is the general email that you could send any question about RVP to. If you go to the bowl.com pages, there is RVP places on there. If you go to youth or to associations, you'll find this same information. But you can email us, you can reach out to us, you're welcome to do that, but also feel free if you have a general question, rvp@bowl.com. I will tell you from an enforcement part from USBC, the rules department is handling the RVP questions, and when you email rvp@bowl.com, you're emailing the rules department. So I always tell people, you're welcome to ask me my opinion. My opinion is worth exactly what you think it is. The rules department is who's going to make a ruling on this. So if you have an issue and you need, especially those very strange issues we always tend to get, send to rvp@bowl.com. You're welcome to reach out to us, and we'll do the same and go out to them. So how many of you have heard about the RVP Safe Sport program? Yeah, we've mentioned it several times today. So we get to finish with this after our other two presentations. The RVP program was started in 2006, and it ran until 2018. It was background screenings for people involved in youth sports. USBC was the first of all national governing bodies to have a background check in place for its coaches and administrators. We were well ahead of everybody else when we started this program, and for those of you who know, this all really got started with it being a mandatory piece about November. And so if we had not had this program in place, then the last several months would have been much tougher. Luckily, we had this program in place. It just came to us having to make some changes and some tweaks. In 2018, in November, we released that we expanded who needed to take RVP. And that included board members at the state and local level. We'll be getting into that over tournament officials as well as some league officials and places that are necessary. Now, why did all this change? You just alluded to it. You said this is USBC's rule, right? This is not USBC's rule. This is not our rule. In February 14th, 2018, our government passed S-534, the Protection of Young Victims from Sexual Abuse Safe Sport Authorization Act of 2017. It passed 406-3 in the House, and it passed unanimously in the Senate. What that law did was put into effect that national governing bodies and amateur athletic sports now must educate, train, and create paths for sexual predators to be reported on, and training to our coaches and background screens for our administrators to make sure that our athletes have safe environments. How many of you have heard about Larry Nassar? What happened at Michigan State and all that stuff? How many of you have ever heard a story happen like that in bowling? How many of you think that's never happened in bowling? It has happened in bowling. We know about it. We've had cases. We've just never had the public image that what took on with U.S. Gymnastics. So yes, U.S. Gymnastics kind of spearheaded this. The government went through and added these laws. we have our own issues. We have people who've had trouble. We've even had recently people who have been longtime tournament directors who ended up getting arrested for something that would qualify, that would make them ineligible. This is something that's been going on, and as society has changed, the stigma and the issues about reporting have come down. How many people have heard about Antonio Brown? Everybody's heard about all that nonsense he's done? Every day, more and more people are finding themselves more comfortable to come out about what has happened. This has been a problem in youth sports for years, and I'm going to go into some stats about that as we go through. But this is what this program is about. It is not about having to try to find, to pinpoint anybody in this room and say, you're a bad person. We want to make sure, we're trying to find anybody. We're trying to educate you about the signs of a child who's been abused, because the reality is there's kids out there who have been abused. There's issues out there that we need to bring to the forefront so we can make sure these athletes are safe. Now, when they passed that law, they created the U.S. Center of Safe Sport. And so how many of you have heard about the Safe Sport training? So we're going to start right now by making some division here. Safe Sport and RVP are not the exact same thing. I'll get into more details about the differences, but the U.S. Center of Safe Sport is a nonprofit that was created independently of the United States Olympic Committee to monitor these situations and to create the training that we need. They are headquartered in Denver. They're only been around since March of 2017. This whole piece is very new. How many of you guys heard way back in January that if you were going to be a registered coach that you couldn't have youth members be on your Facebook page or social media? Everybody heard about that? That came out, that was one of their policies, and then after they implemented it, they changed the rule. So now it is not mandatory, it is a suggested practice, but it is no longer mandatory. So you can be Facebook friends and stuff like that with youth bowlers. The reason I bring that up is I'd love to tell you that everything I'm going to tell you today is set in stone for the next 20 years. It's not. It's changing as we go, the interpretations of how the rules fit our sport as well as other sports. I would love to tell you that it's always going to be the same. This whole group is in its infancy right now. We're still figuring our way out. All these rule changes that we're getting, as soon as we're figuring out what's going on, and when we get an interpretation, we're coming back out to you as quickly as we can to try to figure it out. Do you think we would have liked to give him more notice than what we did about the changes of the program that took place in July? We would have. We'd love to have told you more. We didn't get the official ruling on how they wanted to enforce until about that time. The U.S. Center of Safe Sport, their mission is to make athlete well-being the centerpiece for all national sports cultures through prevention, education, and accountability. The big piece here is, what are they focusing on? They want to create education and outreach so that sports at every level are safe, anywhere from recreation to professionals, and this even goes into all ages. There are many seniors who are abused in today's day and age. This training, the harassment, goes well beyond just even children. The big focuses here are bullying, harassment, hazing, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual misconduct and abuse. Obviously, that's the one that's going to get the most highlights, but all of these are part of this program. And this is the statistic I was telling you about. So 1 in 5 female athletes have reported that they have been abused while doing youth sports. 1 in 20 youth male athletes have reported that they have been abused. That is reported. And we'd agree that as time goes on, that number may get higher. Currently, there's many associations and groups, such as the Boy Scouts, who have large looming lawsuits coming. And from what I understand, there's been some change in laws that sexual misconduct crimes, sexual abuse, the statute of limitations no longer applies to. So you're going to see more of this come out. And there's a lot of people that when something like that happens to them, it takes them quite a while till after that abuse before they're even understanding of what happened before they can come out and report it. Now, when you go to our rule book, you're going to see that we're going to mention the Safe Sport Code. The Safe Sport Code are the rules and regulations that now we abide by. So yes, This is a USBC rule, but all of our rules are coming from the U.S. Center of Safe Sport and how they're interpreting the laws and how we have to enforce them. The big pieces here, who is required, Rule 17G, if you're going to look into the rule book, is where you'll find this. You can also go to bowl.com/safesport, and you can look at the entire Safe Sport Code document if you'd like. These are the types of prohibited conducts that we are looking for when we're doing these background checks. When we do the RVP part, just to make sure you understand, Safe Sport is the free training. It is the 2-hour, 2.5-hour video course that you complete. RVP, if you're going to be RVP compliant, means you will take Safe Sport and RVP, which is purchasing the background check from the I always mess this up, NCSI, not IS, that's a TV show, company. That company that we were using previously for our background checks is the company that the U.S. Center of Safe Sport has selected to do background checks for all the sports. So you will see no change to that. It'll be the same program and everything that you've been doing in the past. How reporting works. Once you go through the training, one of the big pieces are reporting. Understand that you see something and then reporting it out. You can report to us as the national governing body at rvp@bowl.com. You can also report to the U.S. Center of Safe Sport directly. If you go on to their website, you would come up with a form like this. You would fill that out. They have an agency of people who then go through that and investigate it and send it forward when necessary. They are keeping a catalog, a history book of everything that's going on to help create a better picture. Because sometimes somebody causes a problem in one area, they just pack up and go to another. And so there's a lot of people who say, well, why can't I just take a county background check? Well, that may not look at where that person lives previously. It may only go back so many years. It may only look for certain things. And that's why the background checks that we're doing, they go big picture. That's why they do cost money. It's not something that we can just offer for free. I will tell you that the background check, I believe everybody here, you guys are paying $21.25, right? That is the exact cost of the program. There is nothing added on. There is nothing that we get a kickback or anything of that sort. That's exactly what it costs. The lanyards and the badges that you get, USBC makes and ships those to you at a loss because that's what we feel is the right thing to do to make sure that people want to go through this program. We want to keep the cost as low as possible. Some of you may hear about places where they're paying more than that. The reason for that is because of local and county taxes. They have taxes to do background checks in those places. I can tell you I'm the Northeast Regional Manager, so I have the big section of the country where they love taxes. And in some areas it can be as much as $125 to have a background check done. Yeah. So if you come across those, if you find out that there is a local tax or something of that sort, make your local legislators aware of that and let them know that, hey, you know, we're not trying to get out of paying taxes, but at the same point, you're adding a barrier to trying to keep youth sports safe. It's always worth a letter, an ask, or a phone call to see if you can't help with that, because a lot of times they don't think about things like that. They passed a tax 5 years ago and didn't realize what all the repercussions would be. But if you do have an issue and you need to report, you can go to the U.S. Center of Safe Sport, or you can reach out to us as the national governing body. Here are going to be your big highlighted pieces for the U.S. Center of Safe Sport and how it's going to affect you guys. The big piece right here is number 1. Youth league officers and tournament managers, certified coaches, and people bowling with people who are over 18 would have to complete Safe Sport. If you have a league and there's adults bowling with kids, that child may have purchased an adult membership. The U.S. government does not care. And so for the longest time in our sport, we've had this divide of youth bowlers buy youth cards, adult bowlers buy adult cards. And that's what determines if you're an adult or not. The government says when you're 18 years old, you're an adult. They don't care what membership you bought. They don't care if it was $4, $12, $21, $30. So as you go forward, you might think, hey, we don't have any kids in our area. I know you guys are all high school coaches, but even in your center, if you've got a 17-year-old bowling in your adult league, then all those adults would have to take Safe Sport, in order to participate with a minor. This is going to be true as well for adult youth leagues, and this is where it's going to affect you guys the most. If you have a kid on your team who turns 18, that kid is now a legal adult. If he's participating with legal minors, then they need to take Safe Sport. Not RVP. They don't need to take a background check. They just need to complete the free training, the Safe Sport training. As a USOC member association member, the Safe Sport training is 100% free for you guys. If you were not a member, it would cost $20. The background check would be more as well. So we do require that they be members in order to take Safe Sport, because we now have to track all this. So we need a membership number to look with. I can tell you, when we started last year, 3,000 people roughly in the country were RVP certified. There are over 18,000 people RVP certified right now. So the amount of people we have to track and everything has gone way up. Now I can tell you one of the best suggestions I have seen as far as you guys as coaches. You're going to have some kids that turn 18 this year. There are two pieces to remember. If they turn 18 during the season, that counts. But they need to take it before they have contact again with minors. So if they turn 18 in 3 weeks, then before they return after their birthday, they should take it. In reality, we want to work with you guys as best as possible, have them take it. We're not going to be checking every week and trying to bust everyone because someone was 1 day past. But we do want to work with you guys as best as possible to make sure that they take this. One of the biggest suggestions I've had, a lot of youth leagues, youth tournaments, high school teams have done little watch parties where they bring all the kids together in a room just like this. They ask them to bring their tablets, their laptops, stuff like that. They all log in, they buy some pizzas, bring some soft drinks or something, and then they all take it. Each individual person has to log in, use their USBC number, and complete it themselves. You cannot do a viewing where you would show it and we take it as a group and then I pass everybody. They each individually have to log in and take it. However, with today's technology, these kids, while they're obviously not going to be super excited to take it, they have the technology, they have the ability to go through it. In fact, they could probably help you log in faster than you might be able to help them at times. The videos take about 2 to 2.5 hours, depending on how fast you go through it, how much you read, how focused you are on taking the test. I can tell you I'm a high school coach in the state of Kentucky. I'm now taking Safe Sport. I'm passing my background check. I'm taking a health and sports safety class every year for Kentucky High School Athletic Association. I'm taking a sports safety class for them, and I coach at a Catholic school, so I take theirs as well. So I am well versed in all of these. I understand it, but this is something that we have to do, just as I'm sure many of you guys have had to take the background checks in the past. Ultimately, yes, it is not going to be the most fun 2 hours you spend of your life. But I guarantee you, if you do watch and you pay a little attention, you're going to learn some things that you didn't even think about. I'll give you a quick example. We had a guy that works with us at the office. He was working junior gold. We had to disqualify a player. Now, you don't want to make a big scene out of that. You don't want to embarrass the child. So what do? You take the kid into a room, you take him over to the side, and you have the conversation. You should never take a child into an excluded place by yourself. Even if you have zero bad intentions, it's a terrible idea for you to put yourself and that child in that issue. And as a coach and as a spectator of events, you should watch for people who are taking children, excluding them away. So yes, you can go to the side, you can speak quietly, you can kind of separate yourself. Don't go into the locker room separate with the kids. As a bowling center manager before this job, I had a lot of kids that worked for me as well as were on the bowling team. They would text me, ask me questions one-on-one. The team app is going to give you a great avenue to communicate with these kids in an open environment. And that's going to be big. You want to make sure that everyone sees what's going on, because the more eyes on your situation, the better. That's how we're going to make sure the kids are safe and that things that have gone on that shouldn't have gone on don't happen in the future. Now, Can they take this before they're 18? You can take it before you're 18. The only difference is when you go to bowl.com and you go to Safe Sport, there's going to be 2 buttons. One's going to say 18 and over and it's orange. One's going to say 17 and under and it's blue. When you go to log into the 17 and under, you have to have a parental consent because they're a legal minor. If they're over 18, they can take it. If the 17-year-old wants to go on and take it right now to get it out of the way for the season, they can do it. They just need a parental consent to okay it. It's the exact same safe sport, the exact same course. There is also, as part of our education, training videos for even kids, and this is going to be the part that gets a little strange, all the way down to preschool. There are training videos out there. Kids under 17 are not required to take those videos, but we are required as the national governing body to provide that information and those videos out. So they are there. If you have younger kids and you've got a middle school bowling program here in the state of Indiana, if you guys want to share that information, if some parents maybe want to have their kids look over it, too much information is not a bad thing in this situation. If a child recognizes that maybe they're being the prey of a predator, that's going to be a good thing that they would notice that and then maybe be able to get themselves out of that situation or report it to an adult.
If you got a kid who's going to be 18 or is 18,
Mm-hmm.
and this is really the first year that they're bowling, they don't have a sanction number, how do they check in to take the safe sport?
They would need to purchase a membership. You can do so through your high school league. I know you guys pretty much are all certified. If you needed to, you could also purchase them one on bowl.com as well. But they would have to have one because that's what's going to get them the discounted rates. That's also what's going to allow for us to verify that they took it. Yes.
So, say they were past bowlers, they already have a number, does it have to be current for them to do this, or can they already have a past number?
Yes, they do have to be a current member for them to do this.
I mean, that's the question that he asked, and I had the same type of question, because Steve's requiring we have this by the end of October, and for the association, they may not process their membership by that date, so now we gotta be on the association, make sure they process their membership to make sure it's there before we hit the deadline for when this needs to be completed.
And again, with that situation in mind, let us know, communicate that you're waiting, whatever. Somebody wrote email yesterday, I was the kid, 17, don't have new numbers for new holders. So just as soon as you get it processed. I think your rule is after they turn 18, we're wanting to get it all done up front here from 1700.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else had asked John, they've taken out 17, and they have to take it when they turn 18. So it's the same test, he said, but you'll have a year anniversary, take the refresher course as the 18-year-old also.
And I will tell you, for those of you that take it the first time, I told you it's 2 hours, 2.5 hours. When you come back up for your next renewal point and a year later, there's a refresher course that you'll have to take. The refresher course is, if you really take your time and really read everything, about 15 minutes. So as bad as the 2 hours sounds, I can tell you, as a varsity sport in Kentucky, the videos I watch the same video every year. And I gotta watch the whole thing front to back, and it doesn't matter. With this, you just get a refresher course you can take. And so once you make that initial commitment, it'll be much easier going forward. And again, from what I've understand and from what we've been told at this moment, it'll be the refresher course every year. Right now, I have not been told that you'd have to take the whole course again in 3 years or 4 years.
Is there a cost for it?
The Safe Sport, no. Safe Sport is free as long as you have a valid current membership. Is that what you were going to ask?
Yeah, I'm concerned about the youth leagues and the adult youth leagues and tournaments. What about an adult youth tournament? Is everybody that's bowling in a tournament adult required to
So,
play sport before they bowl?
tournaments are exempt from this requirement. The definition that the U.S. Center of Safe Sport is going under is regular contact. Regular contact. If you were to go look at the studies and read the stories, child abuse typically happens from someone who has regular contact with a child. It's not something that happen on a one-off basis.
My other question is, what puts Indiana high school bowling or our youth leagues or our adult youth league
Under these rules?
Yeah.
Because you sanction the competition. USBC is a national governing body. We're a national organization. These laws hit us. Other associations, why they hit us? Because we're a national governing body. We are all under the auspices of the USOC as the national governing body.
What puts us under the auspices of USOC?
Because when we merged everyone together in 2005, we made the move to be the national governing body, to be the head rules maker for the sport of bowling in the country. Obviously, when that all took place, we didn't know that we would go down this road.
The federal law only applies to interstate and international competition, which we don't.
You're having a USBC, yes. And if you all become a varsity sport, like in Kentucky, we're a varsity sport, that is under the state's liability and their rules. But when you're certified under our competition as a USBC certified competition, you fall in underneath that. That's what's coming down. How many of you guys have heard about AAU? That's another national governing body for an amateur sport that this is falling under. And for those of you, there's been some discussion about the Olympics. We're not an Olympic sport. Why would we fall under this? There are 50 members of the USOC. There are 28 Olympic sports. There are more sports that are involved in the USOC than just those 22 you see in the Olympics every year. We are a Pan Am game. But if we dropped the Team USA program today, we'd still be the national governing body for the sport of bowling. We'd still be held to this accountability. And going forward, we wouldn't, what was that? We wouldn't want to drop this to try to avoid protecting children, because that would ultimately be what the move would be.
We're all here for the kids anyway. So.
Yeah. You guys are the easier group for me to talk to because you're coaches. This is a typical thing for coaches to have to do, is to go through some type of training and go through background checks.
And I wouldn't challenge the coaching part at all. I mean, I'm all in, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about our liability about it, but not the fact that wanting us to do this.
Yeah.
What I'm concerned about is telling an adult out here bowling in a league with their kids that, oh, you got to sit down and take this 2.5-hour course.
And so in those cases, I don't want to get off the subject too much because I was going to try to stay on high school, but a league can institute a minimum age of 18. If everyone in the league is 18 years old, no training is required. So the same thing all the senior leagues do to keep me out, you guys can have those rules to make sure that everybody, and what's going to happen in 5 years is this is all going to work its way out, and what will happen is youth bowlers bowl till they're 18, and then you move up. And if we were going to wipe the slate clean and reinvent youth bowling, would that not kind of be how we would do it? What? Yes, and this is all falling. What's going to happen? What's going to happen with them? They're going to take Safe Sport just like they would right now. You can certify your league as an adult youth league, and they can participate.
High school level, you have to drop out.
No, they will not.
They can still participate.
They will still be able to participate. You're just going to have to change how you sanction a league. Right now, your sanction is youth league. You're going to change it next year. I'm guessing when you rediscuss your rules, you would change it to be an adult youth league. And just like right now, your seniors are going to have to take Safe Sport. They'll take Safe Sport, and you guys can continue operating the exact same way you are.
Just one thing I want to mention, John. Because we as a club choose to be USBC certified, we fall under the guidelines.
Yes.
So that's our choice, just like our choice to follow ISH, this, and this, because of the club. We have chosen since we started 20 years ago to be USBC certified. Thus we follow their guidelines, their rules.
And one of the benefits of this is you have this program in place to protect yourselves, your organization. And I can tell you from another sport that is varsity level, if you go to the varsity, if it switches, you will be taking the same classes. You will be subject to these same types of background checks. It'll just happen through your school and your school district instead of through us. So this isn't going to change. Like I told you, I'm already taking pretty much this same stuff. And this program will slowly come down, I believe, because it's a national program. You'll see more people take it on.
With that, ISHA was mentioned. If and when we ever get ISHA, they won't require that third party, the USBC certification. So as in Kentucky, they don't follow USBC rules, but John says he has how many things he has to go through for their
Yeah, and when you become a varsity sport, they will not impose a membership on high school, their high school membership. In Kentucky, it is not 100% everybody has to be sanctioned. Each team makes their own choices if they want to be sanctioned or not. So that would be something that would happen down the road. It's up to them. However, the rules that the High School Athletic Association has adopted are all USBC rules, and their rules all state that all USBC rules will be followed. So there's no change in how it's bold there. It's just that membership is not included. However, they were allowed to. Many teams in the state do sanction their team, submit them in as an average, just like you guys do. Just as I said, another big takeaway from the Safe Sport training is observable and interruptible interactions with kids. You want to make sure it's public. If you're going to have a discussion on Facebook, you want to talk to the kids, do it in a group chat like what Team App was talking about. And you can include your parents. The more eyes are on the situation, the better. Because you don't want to put yourself in a one-on-one situation, because now it's going to be what happened in that situation is up between you and that kid's interpretation of it. And as much as we think text messages are always going to be there, as Ohio State proved, sometimes they disappear and don't end up where they need to be. So try to keep everything as public as possible when you deal with the kids. That's in your best interest and the kids' best interest. The RVP piece is the background check. Again, the people who are going to fall under this, if you are a certified coach, if you run youth tournaments, you'd have to be RVP. If you run adult tournaments and you let youth bowlers bowl, you now run youth tournaments. If you run adult tournaments, you let minors bowl, you now run youth tournaments. Also, league officers who have participants that are under 17. So a youth league officer would need to take this. If there's an adult league and they allow for youths to bowl, they would need to be RVP. The bowlers need to take Safe Sport only. The league administrator, the league officers, would take RVP because they now have an administrative role over children. The big things here in the prevention policy: one-on-one interactions, massage and rub downs. Obviously, this isn't like gymnastics where we have as much of that. Locker room and changing areas. Luckily, we don't have a real locker room per se like other sports do. We do have a locker room, but it's a different purpose than what other sports have. But taking people into those private places, we need to be mindful of that. Social media and electronic communications, we would suggest that yes, you can be Facebook friends with the kids if you'd want. You can create groups to talk with them and things like that. Do not send direct one-on-one communications if you're going to be their Facebook friend. If you need to put something, you can just post on their wall, and that way everyone can see it, and it's a public post. Local travel and team travel. This is going to be a situation. You got one kid left from practice, right? Parents aren't coming, no one's answering. Do you take that kid home? My suggestion would be have somebody go with you. For Junior Team USA, we have a rule now that if they're flying in for training, if only one's going to be there, we're sending 2 people to go pick them up. Because we want to make sure that there's always interruptible and observable. And I know it sounds crazy, and it sounds weird, but this is the world we live in today. Yes? Then you're good. Yeah, and if you take 2 athletes home, you now have multiple people.
But you drop one off and then drop another off, then you're done.
Then you are running that risk, yes. And with all things, I'm not going to go home with you and try to bust you on how many kids you're taking home. Do it, be as respectful as you can. If you've got a kid and he is trapped and can't get home and you don't have somebody to take it, if you've got to take him home, you got to take him home. I understand that. Yeah. You just can't leave him at the bowling alley. And then I think you in the hat back there afterwards.
Quick, because after I took Safe Sport, I went through everything trying to find out, okay, what happens if I screw up? I don't report something. I message one of my kids.
Yeah.
Take a phone call. There is nothing out there that says what happens to me
if you violate the Safe Sport code. At the essence of it, it would be an eligibility issue. But ultimately, the things that you've mentioned, we're trying to provide education. This isn't like a law and order type enforcement. We're not going to bust you every time you post on a kid's Facebook page that you shouldn't have. We're just trying to give guidelines out here to better prepare you guys to handle these situations. Because I know when you all signed up to be high school bowling coaches, you thought this was what you were going to take care of, right? It's not. But the reality is, this is what you're going to take care of. And it's just part of what you're being signed up for. And it's not the glamorous part of it, but it may be the most impactful thing you do for a kid in your time as a high school coach is to step up and help get them out of a situation that's not good.
A couple of situations. We've got, in our neck of the woods, we have
Mm-hmm.
And he has opened it up here recently to youth bowlers with sanction, with money paid if they win anything as a scholarship.
Scholarship money.
So he now has to be RVP certified.
Yes.
Okay, obviously I need to relay that to him. So is there a time frame, because he's doing this, has been doing this, to my knowledge, he's not, but he may be, by a lot of conversation.
By the letter of the law, he should do it before his next event.
Okay.
Uh,
And he'll have a
tell us to talk with him. We'll get him the information and get him through that as best we can.
now, in one of our houses, I know they have a adult youth
League.
where a lot of our, because they use a sport shot and they change it, and a lot of the better bowlers, the youth bowlers, bowl in that because it's good practice for them.
Is that like a singles league where they're bowling just all together?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
In that case, an alternative for them would be to just separate the kids and the adults. So if you sanction it as 2 leagues, you say the adults are going to bowl on 1 through 10, the kids are going to bowl on 11 through 20. Sanction it as 2 leagues. No one needs to take the training as long as everybody is within the proper age groups.
And if they don't do that, then everybody that's bowling that's
Would technically be, everyone who is an adult would technically be ineligible. So in your leagues, you have people that come in and sub and interact with your league, right? And it's your league's job to make sure they've purchased a membership card, right?
are they being RVP certified?
No, I'm just using an example here. So it'd be the exact same situation if someone came and bowled in your league. Let's say they sub for 3 weeks, but they never bought a card. They leave, and then someone complains, hey, they didn't have a card, they're not eligible to bowl in the league. Then we'd make a ruling when that complaint was brought to USBC, and we'd say you bowl with an eligible bowler, those scores don't count. This would be the exact same thing. In order to be eligible to bowl, they have to complete safe sport. So if a complaint was made to us, we would then deem the bowler ineligible and go about it in that way. The adults, yes. The youth are not required to take it. The adults are required. So they would be the ones who would be found ineligible. There are ways to kind of group your kids, just like we used to do the junior the bumpers, the Bantam preps, and the junior majors. There are ways you can group your leagues to get these kids amongst people in the same age groups that would soften who has to take this. You could even allow for, we talked about the U20s, the kids that are going to get bumped up. They could even bowl with your 18-year-olds, and you could sanction as an adult youth league, and they could still give them scholarship money. Everyone in this room right now is eligible to win scholarship money. You don't have to be a youth member to win it. So you can still involve some of those kids that will get affected by the age change coming in your youth leagues if you wanted to. That's kind of a different topic, so if you want to talk about that, I'll be happy to speak about it after we get done. All the way back in the back.
Do we have some special needs bowlers?
Special Olympics bowlers? Yes. And they're purchasing the Special Olympics membership?
Yes.
They are exempt. They don't need to take it, yes. Anyone who can prove that they have, are a Special Olympics bowler, have those, fit those qualifications, are exempt from taking the safe sport training.
What are those qualifications?
I am not qualified to answer what exactly all those qualifications are. Send me an email and we can get you a list. Yes. I'm not sure exactly what that is. I don't want to misspeak, but I can get you that information, yes. But there are some limitations. If someone's, of that realm, they are not being required to take this. There is an RVP handbook online as well on bowl.com/RVP. If you have some more questions or if you just want to look at this some more or provide some information to your parents, to your bowlers, there's the frequently asked questions portion. Remember, this is going to be a little different than Safe Sport, so you may want to look at the Safe Sport page. There's also a frequently asked questions on that as well. RVP compliance, we've pretty much gone over that. And then I'll just open this up. I tried to keep the number of slides down to a minimum because when I do this, the most important part is everybody wants to ask me questions. So, any questions? Yeah.
For safe sport training,
Yes.
How do you know when, okay, my period is up, I got to
When we get to renew, you will be sent an email. I believe you'll get your first email, I want to say 60 days out, and you'll get another one 30 days out. One thing I'll tell you to do is to to whatever email you have put on your membership. Yes. And it'd also be if you took SafeSport, you gave them an email along that way. If you have questions about that, you can email Roger, you can email rvp@bowl.com. We can get on there and check for it. If you have some questions about, did this coach take it, that I think should take it, you can email rvp@bowl.com. We can look it up and tell you. And I will tell you, at this current time, we don't have a mechanism to show you who all has taken SafeSport. We are working on it. Because of the quick time frame in which we got this ruling, we haven't been able to make the IT part of that work. There is a way to go on bowl.com, go to find a registered volunteer, and it will pull up every registered volunteer in your association. You can pull up zip codes, you can look for them by name. If you see yourself or somebody that's not on that, contact us and let us know. There have been some what I would call false negatives, mainly from you subbed in a league and someone processed you a second membership. And so your name is a little different on that one, or you have 2 USBC numbers and your SafeSport's on the other number, and we just got to get them linked together. But for the most part, we're having a lot of luck with this. But you can look up who has taken the RVP portion, and we are working on adding a feature either to search for who has taken SafeSport, or even if you've gone on bowl.com, you've seen a little pin star, and it's green if their membership's good, and it's red if it's expired. Something like that when you search a member, it'll show up. In the meantime, we ask that you have your players, if you're in a league that's going to fall under this, ask them to print off the certificate, take a picture of it with your phone, and now you've got proof you can take with you that you've completed it. Down the line, we will have a piece that will make this simpler and easier for you guys to search. We realize that's a pinch point at this time. I saw you had a hand up back there. Did I answer that?
Yes. So if we're on there, I mean, I've found some of my coaches as I looked them up at multiple centers.
Mm-hmm.
So, or multiple locations. So, I mean, like, we're in Lebanon, but we're also in Indianapolis. Does that
Yes.
mean we actually have 2 section cards somewhere? Or 2 section numbers somewhere?
Not necessarily. It could mean that you're a member of multiple associations. So if you subbed in another association and you pay in multiple associations, then you're gonna show up everywhere.
Okay, all right.
And it's just we'd rather show it too much than not enough.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, what we've used in the past for coaches, having your RVP badge, which you wear in every competition, whether it be practice or matches. The refresher course, you won't have this if you haven't taken the refresher. There have been people that have asked me, heard about the refresher, want to go in and take it. Correct me if I'm wrong on this one, they won't be able to take it until they get within the window of the year that they took it originally?
I believe so, yes. You'll get a notification, and if you want to just log in and look for it, you can, I believe. But you will get a notification. You may need to check your spam files if you didn't find one. Make sure it's not going in there, because that's been the #1 thing we've had. Because the way the RVP will work in the future, you'll have to take the SafeSport before we'll let you take the background check. So you guys at all...
The refresher course before I could get my...
Yes. And so with you guys who are doing RVP prior, right now your expiration dates for your SafeSport are different than your RVP. As we go forward, we're going to try to move that to where they fall together, and it will work that way out. But majority of the people who are taking RVP right now have never taken it. You guys are of the minority of people who are already kind of taking it. But we'll work with you to get those to be together, and so it's a simpler way to keep track, but you won't have 2 dates.
On that as well, for your 17-year-old taking the SafeSport, we're telling you to take that before the season starts if they're going to turn 18 during the season, from now through March the 1st. As he said, either print the certificate, bring it to your coordinator, take a screenshot. That's something we're going to ask him to turn on to us. Your certification, the waiver now on a birthday, so we'll be able to track who is 18. We need to have that waiver form or that training form turned in.
I don't recall printing out certificates. I know I'm...
When you got done?
When I had it done. So the question is, how do you get certificates after the fact, or somebody...
You can go back into your account and open it back up. Now,
Under SafeSport or the RVP?
Under SafeSport. And one thing to remember is every time you complete one of the 3 courses, it gives you a certificate it wants you to print out. Make sure you're getting the one that says completed the entire course. Because the #1 confusion we've had is, I took SafeSport, why am I not showing up? And I look and like, you've taken 1 of 3 videos. You have to take the other 2. So make sure that you're getting the whole one and you ask them. Luckily, with the way technology is going, they can pull them up on their phone. That's why we're telling you to ask them to take pictures around rather than, if they want to, they can carry their certificate. If you want to have them give you the certificates, my local association, when I was a board member, did that. I had to give them the certificate, and they kept it on file for the RVP. If you want to do that as a coach, you're welcome to. If you want to have them all text you pictures of it, and then you keep them that way, if that's how you want to handle it, that's fine. But those are all possibilities that we've heard of from out in the field. Any other questions?
As association manager here in Lafayette, just to pass on FYI, could you guys make the website more user-friendly? The links are hard to find.
Are you talking about the links to the Safe Sport and stuff like that? Yes. We are. I will pass that along. They just changed it. I don't know how recently you went to it, but Safe Sport now has those 2 buttons rather than all the links with the lingo that we had prior. And the other thing is, the background check was on there independently. Now it is off. You have to take the Safe Sport to get the background check. So that link is no longer there. And that's to stop somebody from going through, taking the background check, skipping the Safe Sport and causing issues. So that's why that's changed. I'm not sure when the last time you looked at it, but now it's literally 2 buttons. And if you go to the U.S. Center of Safe Sport website, you will see all these different other videos that are free. But if you went to just go to their website and try to take the background check without going through our link, it will try to charge you. So that's why we're trying to ask you to go to that. But I will pass that along. I'm not the IT guy.
3 weeks ago, it wasn't for user-friendly.
Okay.
It's been done recently.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of changes and reformatting, and we're still figuring it all out and then figuring out what else we've got to add.
Some of the coaches around town do all this.
Yeah. What I've pretty much done is save the page on a link, and I just click it, copy, paste it, and send it out. And I'll be happy to send it to anybody who needs any help with that. I'm sorry?
Is there a way we can get reimbursed for the background check?
I mean, I can tell you that you're welcome to have discussions with the school on how to go about it. Some of the schools may be willing, some may not. I know you're in a club sport level, which means the school acts like you don't exist at times. You know, we were a club sport first, so I understand that. You also may look at it as part of your team fundraising. You know, we raise all this money to get jerseys and get all that stuff. Wouldn't it be worth it to raise another $80 and make sure all the coaches are background checked? Make sure I would think that check with your school to make sure that's okay, but I would assume that they would not have too many issues with you going through and making sure that it's background checked and approved. Maybe it just requires getting something donated to your team that you can raffle off to pay for it. If you're playing other sports, your child's playing other sports, there's background checks like this going on in those sports for administrators. And that fee you're paying for your kids is what helps pay for it. And if you have parents or coaches who are doing this for other sports, because if you're doing U.S. soccer, baseball, things like that, this is all for them too. We're not the only ones who are doing it. If they've already completed it for someone else, they can log into their Safe Sport account and select USBC as a member organization, and they don't need to take it twice. It will count for them, and they'll be good. Any other questions? All right, well, I've tried to keep it as condensed as I could. I hope you guys got the information you needed. If you need anything else, if you've got more questions, reach out to me, reach out to Roger, or send an email to rvp@bowl.com. Thank you, guys.
Okay, I think you got a lot of information today. Hope you retain most of it. Again, if you didn't, you can go back and pull it on and watch the video here later. See what it was you missed. Again, this is a work in progress for USBC, for Team Ad, high school bowling. You guys help us work through this as we move forward. I think it's all going to be good. Before I let you go, Larry's taking like a minute of your time. Oh, no. Yes. Scott and/or pass out evaluation forms. If you would, give an honest evaluation. Put your name down at the list, not necessary. Turn them back here at the Scott Daniel at the table there. This will help us as we plan to go forward.
How do we go to see, watch the video?
It'll be on our website, Indiana Bowl, in the high school bowl. I know he's got the thing up there today, for the live web stream, and Chad, I'm sure, will be back up again. Take a week or a couple weeks.
It'll be on YouTube about
Okay.
30 minutes after I shut this off.
Okay. We'll give me the information on that.
It might be on the website. I'll email you everything tomorrow.
All right. Yes.
What will you update the Indiana Bowl as far as tournaments that were listed like last year? All the tournaments that are listed are still last year.
All I do is people send it to me, I post it.
Okay.
So I don't go looking for anything, and as they send to me, then I'll put it up just as a help for you guys. Nothing new, that's why you see what you got.
Delete the old ones.
All right. Delete the old ones, I can do that. Larry.
Hi, again, my name is Larry Zandeman. You all received forms that we have for the Indiana High School Bowl in preseason. Last year at our coaches clinic, we had the Illinois, Ohio representatives there. They had talked about, they had preseason tournaments. So my conference up in Northwest Indiana, we've always had preseason tournaments. And a couple of the coordinators around the state, we got together and decided we'd take up the preseason around the state. So this year, it's up in Merritt, actually in Dyer, and then we just rotated it around the state. So everybody's welcome to come to these tournaments. October the 13th, Bowl app, there's an app there for IHSB preseason tournament that you can go there, get your entry form, you can submit your entry, and if I get it set up right, you can pay for it there also. Currently, we got 2 teams signed up. I know it's a little early yet, but if you're interested, my information is on the flyer everybody got. Please get a hold of me. Again, I think we got 46 lanes available this year to move me to a smaller house. So if you're interested, more welcome to come out. There's scholarship money for the first place team, and besides medals and trophies. Again, it's all on, there is IAP and the team app.
All right. How about a round of applause again? Thank you, Scott. Nice to meet you guys. Thank you.